All right. Good morning to you. Welcome in on this Thursday morning to the Marc Cox Morning Show. We've got a absolutely packed show for you today. And you're alongside Kim St. Ange and Ethan Bright. We'll get Sue Thomas in just a minute with your traffic. But, man, from the 6 o'clock hour on, we are going to be loaded down with information for you. So be sure and hang around for that. We're going to get Alan Dershowitz on, the lawyer and professor. So much going on overnight. Big day at the Supreme Court. Alan can comment on some of that. We got Jim Talent, Gianno Caldwell, who's, of course, a commentator and contributor on Fox News. Shannon Bream. We're going to get Bevis Schock in here talking about this quo warranto effort by Attorney General Andrew Bailey to get the St. Louis sheriff out of office. So we've really got a lot going on this morning. Kim, how you doing?
I'm good.
Good.
Yeah, I'm looking at the rundown right now, and you're right. We really do have a packed show, but it's good stuff. And it's every day. It's just you're dumbfounded by how many things go on, and it's just you never run out of different topics to discuss.
Boy, that's the truth. Here you go, Ethan. Let me give you the short list here. I, as usual, was at my desk slaving away till the very last second and came running in the studio when Ethan says, Mark, because the music is playing at the intro to my own show, and I have to run in here and be ready to roll. So just part of what we do, what we put on the line for you every single day here. That's good. You know, Kim, I'm going to start early this morning, and I'm going to mention this several times today. I just have to tell you, I'm going to mention this several times today, and it's very self-serving, but I'm going to say it anyway. I need help from my people. My people are my listeners. I need mechanical help. And I don't know who else to turn to. I have reached a dead end in my efforts to fix my jet ski, which is an older model that I bought a few years ago, and I can't get it to start. But because it's 20 plus years old, I don't want to invest a lot of money in it because I know if I take it to one of these regular marina shops, it's going to cost me $150 an hour in labor and all this stuff. It's a very simple problem. It just won't start. It turns over, it just won't start. So here's my ask for you today. If you know somebody who works on older jet skis, maybe in their part-time, or they do it in their backyard, or they're really good at it, email me. Here's what I don't want. I don't want suggestions on how I could fix it, because I have reached the limits of my mechanical abilities dealing with this SOB so far, and I'm tired of it. I want to find someone who can make my jet ski start. So if you have a name for me, Joe's Backyard Mechanics, email me down here, mark.cox at odyssey.com, marc.cox at odyssey.com, or put it on the Facebook page today, and I'm going to reach out to that person. I don't know what else to do.
I'll be curious to see if you actually get somebody.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to get a million pieces of advice on what else I could try to do to fix it. I've tried everything. I've replaced things in it, the regulator. I've replaced all this different stuff in the starter box. I can't get to start. So now what I need is a mechanic. So if you know one, let me know today. I'm at my wit's end on this thing, and I don't quite know where to go next. All right, that's it for the self-serving part of the show. Let's get on to some content here. Ethan, let's get to our top stories.
The Marc Cox Short List.
The DIA themselves have now come out and said this was a preliminary report, and this CNN story got it completely wrong. But that reporter is a sheep, and she's a mouthpiece for people who don't like Donald Trump.
Yeah, the one that kind of led the lies on the Steele dossier is now claiming we didn't destroy anything in Iran. Anyway, Pete Hegseth is going to hold a news conference this morning about 7 a.m. St. Louis time, and we're going to have all the details on that for you right here.
They want to spin it to try to make him look bad based on a leak. Of course, we've all seen plenty of leakers. And what do leakers do? They have agendas. And what do? Do they share the whole information or just the part that they want to introduce?
Yeah, that's true. You got somebody leaking something that they have an agenda. There's no doubt about that. And we'll find out more this morning at 7 when the defense secretary takes to the airwaves.
I wish I could yield back the last 5 minutes of my life, actually. And I want to apologize to the people of Arizona that we have somebody who's representing the folks in one of our great parts of the Valley that doesn't care about the integrity of our election. So
Carrie Lake, you know, Carrie Lake gutted a fish yesterday in Congress. I don't know how else to put it. This congressman challenged her and called her a liar, and she let go one of his deepest secrets in front of Congress, and he was speechless.
I wanted to know how he's doing. He was very nice, actually. Yeah, we had little rough times sometimes. He was couldn't have been nicer. I think he'd like to see an end to this. I do.
That's President Trump. Of course, he's been in the Netherlands. He's been at this NATO summit. He's been owning these members of NATO because he got them to finally agree. Now, they all have to go back and get their respective governments to agree to it, but they have tentatively agreed to increase their spending. And while he was there, he met with Volodymyr Zelensky, who's somewhere between Kyiv and this meeting in the Netherlands, stopped by a men's store and bought a suit. It was pretty amazing. I don't know where he went. Maybe he went to Sears and bought one. I couldn't tell what it looked like, but he did have a suit on for the first time ever. And I don't know if it was to impress Trump because he got criticized for not wearing, because all he ever wears is that stupid tracksuit when he goes places. I mean, come on.
So did Zelensky call him daddy too?
I don't know. That's pretty funny though, wasn't it?
Oh, the funniest part too is seeing Marco Rubio react when the journalist from Sky News asked him about, she has her little accent. She's like, "What do you think about being called daddy? Do you view them, the NATO members, as your children?" And Trump's trying to keep a straight face, and Marco Rubio's just losing it right behind him. Yeah. How can you not? Daddy? The head of NATO calling him daddy.
This is the thing you have to pause for a moment and just enjoy this. I mean, watching these largely left-wing, mostly with the exception of the Italian prime minister and maybe the Lithuanian prime minister, mostly left-wing progressive leaders in Europe, all kneel at the feet of Donald Trump, who they have badmouthed for years, who they celebrated when he left office in 2020, and loved having Joe Biden in there, they could walk all over, even direct him around at news conferences because he didn't know where the hell he was most of the time. And now they just want to be part of his world. You heard the guy yesterday, we should make NATO great again, right? They don't know what to do. You just need to savor this for a moment because this is what we told you needed to happen. How long has it been? Raise your hand if you can answer this. How long has it been since we've had a leader in the White House who demanded the respect of European leaders? How long? I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I know a lot of them got along with George H.W. Bush. I don't think a whole lot of them respected George W. Bush. It's certainly what they loved Barack Obama because he was one of them. When he went on the apology tour after he got elected and blasted America all over the world and apologized for America's strength, it was embarrassing. You got nothing better out of Joe Biden. It just got progressively worse. And now we're back on top. Now you have a strong Central American leader. And as usual, the world is falling behind them because you need that. When you're the superpower of the world, when you're the gorilla, the 800-pound gorilla in the room, and you're the good guy, the United States is the good guy, you have to flex every once in a while. You do. Nobody over there's got better ideas than we do. Nobody else has got a better economy than we do, a stronger economy, a stronger military. The United States needs to be in a position of leadership. And for too long, American leaders have allowed, particularly from the European standpoint, the European Union to walk all over us. NATO, all these crazy green peace accords all over the world, basically transferring wealth to third world nations. All of that's over now. And, happy next 4 years, because I love that picture of the that screaming professor for the University of Missouri who's in every meme now with her mouth wide open, screaming up at the sky. And you put her on a time chart, 2025 to 2028. She's right up against 2025. You are here. You have 4 more years of this to look forward to. And I love that. Just put this in perspective and take a moment to appreciate. All right. Ethan, let's who are we going to hear from today in our national anthem?
Let's go Carrie Underwood.
All right, love it.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's bright glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, good morning. We are quiet on the roads, so that's some good news, and that's throughout the entire area. Missouri side, Illinois side, just really off to a good start. Now, there is some road work scheduled tonight on 70, and that would be from, 8 o'clock tonight until 5 a.m. tomorrow. They're going to have the shoulder on the ramp from eastbound 70 to northbound 170 closed. They're just going to be doing road work. And this time of year, there's so much going on. You just have to be careful, especially at night. So watch out for that one. Right now, though, we are in good shape. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Sponsored by Gloria Lou with your home sold guaranteed realty 314-325-6888.
Need to sell your home and you want the most money? The name to remember is Gloria Lou. Yes, Gloria Lou with your home sold guaranteed realty at 314-325-6888 and start packing.
All right, so I just have to tell you, I got another great video from my friend Matt Hayes at Home Shield Foundation Repairs yesterday. He's showing me somebody who's got a pool in their backyard, and they have concrete around the edge of that pool, and part of it had started to sink. Well, of course, Matt's over there. He's sort of given me Matt Hayes here from Home Shield Foundation Repairs. Sort of giving me a step-by-step on what they're going to be able to do to repair this problem for this homeowner, listener of ours who called in. And of course, they're having Matt over there at my recommendation. I appreciate that. If you've got a problem somewhere around your house with a piece of concrete that is not level anymore because of erosion, soil erosion, or whatever the reason, let Matt come over and look at it. Home Shield Foundation Repairs specializes in foundations. It's right in their name. Matt is the owner. He is a foundation specialist. He's not a foundation salesperson. He's a foundation specialist. He can come over and use their polyjacking services to level that up. And if you're a veteran, hey, this is the time. Through the end of this month, so the month is dwindling away here, you can save 20% off all polyjacking services if you are a first responder. Fire, police, and EMS can all get 20% off right now. Just identify yourself when you call in and tell them you heard it on the Marc Cox Morning Show, and Matt will take care of you. Can also help you with waterproofing issues in your basement. So ask them about that. Check out their videos online. Go to HomeshieldFoundationRepairs.com.
At University of Maryland Global Campus, we give our students credit where credit is due. Credit for deciding in the middle of rush hour traffic to go back and get their bachelor's and a promotion. Credit for managing 3 kids, 2 dogs, and a full-time job to pursue an MBA. And credit for serving in the military by day so they can study cybersecurity at night. For over 75 years, we've been helping students receive the credit they deserve. With more than 135 degrees and certificates, students at UMGC can use prior learning or relevant experience to earn up to 90 credits toward a bachelor's, and graduate students can transfer up to 12 credits toward their master's. At UMGC, you'll find everything, online to hybrid courses, lifetime career services to scholarship opportunities, making your education journey flexible, fast, and affordable. Classes start soon. Learn more at umgc.edu. That's umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
Fighting and winning. The Marc Cox Morning Show. Find everything Marc Cox at 971talk.com/Cox.
All right, Kim, I told you this was going to happen. I requested some help for my jet ski, and it didn't take long for what to happen that I expected to happen.
Someone telling you how to fix it?
My friend Brad said, you need to replace the framister and realign the fibrillator.
Oh, yeah, the fibrillator.
Yeah,
that was what I was going to say. When you were telling me about it, that was my first guess.
If I had just thought of that.
Replace the wiggle womp and the zigzag.
I
the
know.
Zorps.
I think it's the flux capacitor.
I actually found a company that sells jet ski parts somewhere down near Hillsboro, and I ordered something through eBay from them. And we were convinced, my buddy and I, who does have some mechanical ability, after testing it and testing the ohms and all that, that's what the problem was, and it still won't start. So I've spent $35 on it right now. I'm that deep in, maybe a few more dollars if you count the new spark plugs. But beyond that, I can't figure out why this thing won't start. So if you know somebody who's a shade tree mechanic who can fix 2-cycle jet skis, Yamaha 750 or Kawasaki 750, let me know. And I'm open to suggestions right now. Feel free to email me or comment on the Facebook page this morning and kind of give me a little bit of help. Did you see any of the testimony in Congress yesterday? We always can depend on our friend John Kennedy. They were having a debate over public broadcasting. This is the one where you had Carrie Lake in there commenting on why we need to defund PBS, and specifically she was talking about the Voice of America. That's one of the things you're trying to trim as well, which sounds all patriotic, and we broadcast the Voice of America around the world. And then we find out there are not only zero limits on it, even congressmen have no control over what goes out over the VOA. They can spread lies, they can spread anything they want, and nobody can question them. And now Trump and Carrie Lake are saying it's time to defund this. This was our friend John Kennedy yesterday during this hearing asking a pretty simple question.
Do we give money to Fox?
No.
Do we give money to Politico?
No.
Then why are we giving money to public broadcasting? Why? We're $36 trillion in the hole.
Why are we giving money to public broadcasting?
He makes a good point.
He does make a good point. If it's commercial, see, that's the point. They know, the people that support public broadcasting know it's not commercially viable. Or they're afraid to experiment and find out if it's commercially viable. Air America failed in this country for a reason, not because of mismanagement, right? It failed because they put every screaming lib, Rachel Maddow, all these crazies on their radio station, and they syndicated it, and they thought it would be a big hit, and it failed miserably. They didn't get the financial support they needed to support that network. Why is that? It's really simple. I've talked about it on here before. It's because you don't need a liberal radio talk show, because you can just watch the mainstream media. They're the mouthpiece for the left in this country. They are. The reason Rush Limbaugh burst onto the scene in the 80s and was such a roaring success was you weren't hearing those common sense views on what was going on in the world anywhere else. And of course, they all labeled him as some sort of, hard right winger and blah, 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 blah. The problem was he was right all along. He wasn't hard right. He was right all along. And that hit home with millions of Americans who like, wait a minute, what this guy's saying makes perfect sense to me. I see these things with my own eyes, and the media tells me that it's not what I think it is. But it was, and it is. And Rush Limbaugh called out the whole identity politics thing long before anybody recognized it. He's like, this is what the left is trying to do. And we need to stop it now. And of course, it's all out of control. Got completely out of whack over the whole thing. So I'll get to more of this Carrie Lake stuff coming up, because she eviscerated a Arizona congressman yesterday in front of everyone, and he was gap-jawed when it happened. We'll get to Kim on a whim coming up. Stay tuned.
Since 1995, Renewal by Andersen has been helping St. Louis homeowners upgrade with windows and doors built to last. And now we're celebrating in a big way. It's our 30th anniversary window and door sale, and you can take $19.95 off every project. No gimmicks, no games, just real savings from a name you've trusted for decades. Our exclusive Fibrex material is 200% stronger than vinyl and backed by the nation's best warranty. Drafty windows, dated doors, want to boost curb appeal? This is your moment to make the upgrade. But hurry, this offer ends June 30th, and some restrictions apply. Visit rbastl.com to learn more or schedule your free inspection today. It's fast, it's easy. Just dial pound 250 on your phone and say the keyword Windows. That's pound 250, keyword Windows. Or head to rbastl.com. Renewal by Andersen. Superior products, exceptional service.
All right. Happy anniversary to my friends at Grasser Electric. Shane and Josh Grasser run the company, and they do such a fantastic job out there. 50 years they've been doing this. If you're in the sound of my voice and you need an electrician, you have electrical problem, you have lights flickering in your house, you continually, are blowing a fuse or a breaker because you've overloaded a circuit. We all have more stuff plugged in these days, let's face it. Grasser can fix that. They can go down and get that switched out in a hurry. They can replace your entire electrical box, your breaker box, if that's what you need. If you need an update before a sale or an inspection, call Grasser, 636-441-5200. And if it's an emergency, that's also their emergency number. They'll be there for you. They'll get it taken care of. 636-441-5200. No job too big or too small. Online anytime at grasserelectric.com.
I'm Maria Bartiromo, and this is the Fox Business Report.
More numbers on the housing market are released this morning. Pending home sales for May, also durable goods orders for May, trade numbers for the month, and the revised gross domestic product for the first quarter. Mark Malik, Chief Investment Officer at Siebert Financial, says Fed Chair Jerome Powell is finally sounding like an interest rate cut may be coming.
He said, as we expected, he's waiting, but the slightly dovish tone should be expected. I mean, it's about time they start considering cutting interest rates. I mean, we've been waiting for all these bad numbers for quite some time now. We haven't seen them yet. We still expect that there could be somewhat of a bump in the future, but at this point, I think markets are expecting that to be minimal.
Earnings reports are expected today from Walgreens Boots Alliance, McCormick, and Nike. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Coselda, invested in you.
Sponsored by AxeCap Ventures. America, listen up. Gold prices are breaking records. With inflation raging and central banks hoarding, every American should own gold. And like President Trump said, whoever holds the gold makes the rules. AxeCap Ventures owns one of Nevada's largest undeveloped gold deposits and trades for pennies on the dollar. This could be your way to ride the gold boom. AxeCap trades under GARLF on the OTC. Visit axecapventures.ca today.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Good morning. We are looking good on the roads at this hour, and that's on the Missouri side and the Illinois side. By the way, yesterday, Annie Fry was asking me how long that road work is going to go on eastbound 5570, the closure between 255 and 159, and it will be through June 30th. IDOT saying they will have all of that picked up by 5 a.m. on June 30th. But it remains closed right now. It's early enough that there is not a serious delay. This report is brought to you by New Perspective Senior Living. New Perspective Weldon Spring is redefining senior living. They've got modern apartments, delicious meals, activities, entertainment, and a state-of-the-art AI fall detection system. Visit npseniorliving.com to schedule a tour today. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, let's talk about your roof for just a minute. I have got a brand new roof, and I'm very proud of it, and it's beautiful, and I want to congratulate the folks at Corel Roofing for another job well done. If you need somebody to come out and be honest with you about whether or not you do have hail damage, not somebody who's maybe an out-of-towner who's in town trying to take advantage of all that damage that happened in the St. Louis area, call my friend Curtis at Corel Roofing. Local guy. I've known him for a long time. It's why I trusted him to do my roof. So he crawled up on my roof and he saw damage, and he worked with the adjuster from my insurance company for the claim. He crawled up on my daughter's roof, who lives a couple miles away, didn't see any damage. So he's going to be honest with you. He's not somebody who's just trying to put a new roof on a house because they're making a dime on it. He's not going to overcommit. When other companies do that, the quality suffers, the customer service drops off. This is why I'm recommending Curtis. And if you need a new roof, you know somebody who does. It is Corel Roofing Company. Here's Curtis's phone number. It's his cell number, 314-222-9529. 314-222-9529. You can trust him to take care of the problem for you, regardless of what you're putting back on your roof. Slate, architectural shingles, metal roofs, other luxury shingles. They handle it all, and they're going to do a fantastic job for you. 314-222-9529, or on Facebook at Corel, 2 R's, 2 L's, Corel Roofing Co.
The Cards, the Cubs.
Siteman Cancer Center game time 1:15. Play ball. Siteman Cancer Center, national leader in cancer.
The home of the Cardinals. 104.1 FM KMOX.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Elbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Why should you hire America's largest injury law firm for your case? There's lots of reasons. Just like there's a reason millions of people called us last year in their time of need. When it comes to fighting for justice and compensation, millions of people across the country trust us to go to battle for them. We became the largest injury law firm in the world for a reason. There's only one Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com. Injured? Dial #law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
A morning cup of adrenaline. The Marc Cox Morning Show. Kim on a whim.
We're about to launch one of the biggest advertising campaigns in HHS history to encourage Americans to use wearables. It's a way of people can take control over their own health. They can take responsibility. They can see, as you know, what food is doing to their glucose levels, their heart rates, and a number of other metrics as they eat it. And they can begin to make good judgments about their diet, about their physical activity, about the way that they live their lives. We think that wearables are a key to the MAHA agenda, making America healthy again. And we are going to, my vision is that every American is wearing a wearable within 4 years.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea what RFK Jr. there is suggesting, which is to have every American within 4 years wearing one of those wearable devices. So whether it be a smartwatch, a fitness tracker like the Apple Watches, or they're called the Aura Rings or something like that. I know those are really popular. That would essentially monitor your heart rate, your blood pressure, your glucose levels. I see value in that. I think it's going to be a hard sell. In fact, there's many people online who are saying, I tried wearing one of those little fitness trackers on my wrist and it ended up leading to some sort of a rash. And they became very, very addicted to kind of like a cell phone with social media, where you realize you're checking it nonstop. And people said it was so addicting that they actually didn't want it anymore.
Hell no.
The other thing people are saying is I'm worried this will allow them to track me. I don't think it'll track. I don't think it's going to track
Americans
people.
are not going to do that. You can make your best recommendation. You know what? If it's the government's recommendation that you don't smoke, there you have it. The people that are going to keep smoking are going to keep smoking. If it's the government's recommendation that you get a fitness tracker of some sort, it doesn't have to. It can be a Garmin. It doesn't have to be an Apple Watch that's $400 or $500. Then if that's what you want to do, do it. RFK is not going to be able to force every American to wear one of those things.
But I don't think he's forcing everybody, because that would be ridiculous.
Didn't he say that was his goal?
That's his goal, but there's no way he's going to say, all right, line up. You have to be here by this time and this date. I'm going to glue this watch to your wrist. You cannot take it off. There's no way that would ever stand.
No.
But just to make the suggestion of, hey, this would be a really good idea. I think it's the idea that it's the notion that this is something we probably should care more about than we do right now, because we've had such a sharp increase in chronic diseases. And it's not just among the older populations, it's among kids. Kids at a very young age are developing these chronic issues, and it's causing more problems as they become adults. And it's very, very expensive.
Right.
And we already spend so much money, astronomical amounts of money in the health industry. And yet we're so sick as a nation.
Well, he's on the right track. I like a lot of what he's doing. I mean, I think that you can get a little overboard with it when it comes to tracking people's health. Some of those things are beneficial. I mean, I know a lot of people who are always focused on how many steps they've done today. I'm worried about how many steps I've made from here to the coffee maker in the morning. That's about it. I need to be more aware of those things. It doesn't hurt to talk about them. There are important issues that they're dealing with up there. For example, let me see if I got my audio turned off here. Here we go. This is what RFK said yesterday during this hearing. And these are the kinds of things that people need to pay attention to.
The United States remains the sickest developed nation, and yet we spend $4.5 trillion annually on healthcare, 2 to 3 times more per capita to comparable nations. Clearly, something is structurally wrong with our approach. Furthermore, healthcare costs are steadily increasing at a rate of 2% greater than the economy. This is unsustainable.
He's right. Think about that. It's like the argument we got into the other day with some of the people on the Facebook page about education spending. The city of St. Louis spends double what a lot of districts do, and their results suck. It's not about how much money you spend on it. It's about how you carry it out, right? It's about what your policies are and what your curriculum is. And it's the same with the approach on healthcare.
Well, I think a lot of it is because we're so over medicated. In many cases, you have to take medication. There's just no way around it. You need to have something to at least serve as a crutch temporarily. In some cases, there might be a particular disease you deal with where you just unfortunately will have to remain on medication the rest of your life, which I 100% would support. However, I think the bigger issue is that we're not getting to the root cause of many of these chronic issues. We're not addressing food that we're taking in. We're not addressing the chemicals that we're exposed to. And I'm not pretending like I'm so great at watching every single thing that I eat. I've been more particular about it recently, but I still wish I were better at saying, okay, I need to read every single ingredient and all the things, but it gets kind of overwhelming for me.
Sure.
It's very time consuming. It's very expensive. And I know that they're making changes. A lot of these companies are taking the food dyes out, like Kraft, or I think it was, or Heinz. I can't even keep track.
Heinz.
Many of these companies are agreeing to do it. Now they are being forced technically to at least remove some of the dyes, I believe by 2027, but many of them are just saying, hey, I'll just go ahead and remove all of the dyes, because likely they'll be forced to at some point, depending on, I guess, who's in office after Trump.
We talked about this the other day, and then I had a conversation with somebody who just got back from Europe, and it was an extended vacation, right? Like 3 weeks. This was like the big trip, and the conversation was, when I left here, my allergies were like killing me. I was on a daily allergy pill. Went to Europe for 3 weeks, and my symptoms disappeared. Now, it could be that you're here and there's an environmental issue for you here, yard clippings or something, and they don't have some of that same problem wherever you were in France, that same type of pine or whatever that's affecting your allergies. Or it could be that they just do things differently with the food system over there, and that's what caused some of her symptoms to go away. And I think that's something they have to take a hard look at. And it seems to me that RFK Jr. is doing that.
Right. And I think there's some pushback from the medical community, because that means if people get healthier, they might not need as many drugs.
Boom.
And that's how they make, not all, but a lot of their money. So you have to, I always say, follow the money. You know, there are some people who have bad intentions when it comes to health, as far as they need you to stay sick. This is certainly not all doctors. There's phenomenal doctors out there. We need doctors. We need medication. We need a lot of these things. But we have been so overprescribed medicine, and people are so addicted. You have people who have surgeries, have never been addicted to a drug before. They're prescribed an opioid to help with pain relief that is needed in that particular situation, because they're in extraordinary pain as they recover. Well, then here you have somebody who is addicted, right? And then they're selling, and it just kind of spirals from there. So I really think that at least we have the right, I believe, leader in place. RFK Jr., I believe, is 100% the right person in that position, and he's going to keep trying to get the ball rolling in a better direction than it has been, because we've been going downhill for many, 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 many years.
It's true. When they talked about a ban on pharmaceutical ads.
Oh, see, I would love that.
It sent a shiver through commercial broadcasting, because it would be no different than it would be for this radio station, because you'll hear ads on here occasionally for certain drugs. Hell, they were advertising for the COVID vaccine for a while.
Oh, yeah.
These big companies, because, it's a commercial radio station. And if they come knocking on the door with a bunch of money, just like any politician, whether we agree with them or not, if they've got enough money to buy the ad time, they can run an ad on a commercial radio station or a commercial TV station. They were talking about limiting the kind of ads pharmaceutical companies could air, so you're not seeing that one ad for I don't know what it is, for people that are overweight, that's where they're dancing down the street. I've seen that ad over and over and over again. That would eliminate those.
And it sounds crazy to us, because we're so used to hearing on the radio or seeing on TV so many of these ads.
Right.
But it's really not that crazy, considering we're one of the only countries. In fact, I think we're one of 2 countries in the world that allows these types of advertisements. Many of these companies, or countries rather, they ban it. They're not allowed to do that.
There's a much broader issue here, and I heard RFK bring it up the other day, and that is this issue of controlling drug prices. And I have a little bit of an issue with it. I just have to say, whatever the problem, whatever the reasons are that drugs are cheaper in Europe, is partially political and partially the fault of the pharmaceutical companies forever agreeing to it, because they could subsidize the cost of drugs overseas, because they could pretty much charge whatever they wanted in the United States, or they could charge the full cost of the drug in the United States for the R&D and all of that. And therefore, to get into these foreign markets, they were willing to sell the drugs at a cheaper price. And now you've got the president and RFK saying, well, we're going to do most favored nation status, and we're going to force them to sell it here for the same price they sell it there. Well, that's not going to work. It's not going to work in a capitalist society. They can't keep producing the best drugs in the world if they can't afford to do the R&D on them. So at some point, there's got to be a compromise there. You can't just say that drug is $70 a month in Israel and it's $7,000 a month in the U.S., and you're going to have to match the $70 a month that Israel's getting. That's not going to work. The costs are going to have to go up overseas, or those people aren't going to be able to afford the drugs.
Well, that's
and
the problem
here, and they
here,
can't cut them
though.
to $70 here because they wouldn't be able to afford the R&D it took to produce them.
I get your point, and I agree to an extent, and I just don't know what the solution is, because I don't know that it's to force them to lower them here, but at some point, people can't even afford the drug.
No,
you're making all of these things, but then if people can't afford to even get it and use it, what good does it do?
Well,
so
again,
that's the only. I don't know what the solution is, and I don't make the big money to be in that position to solve that problem.
I'm not sure I want big government making those decisions at the end of the day. But we'll talk more about that. A quick break here. Kim, did you feel a sense of pride as you drove into work this morning?
I had to think about that for a second. As I was having to constantly reroute to make sure I could get to the office, I felt a lack of pride. Yeah.
I understand that, because much of downtown is blocked off right now due to the Pride festivities that are taking place this weekend. And meanwhile, an amazing thing happened yesterday with some Atlanta teens facing charges for hate crimes for something they did. We're going to talk about that coming up here in just a minute. Stay tuned.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Good morning to you. It's pretty quiet out there on the roads, and we look good. Now, this is through North County. Really no delays up there. There's plenty of road work scheduled, though, just because it's this time of year. And on 170 today, 9 a.m. until 3 p.m., crews will close one lane north and southbound Brentwood Boulevard under the interstate. So if you're traveling back and forth to the Galleria, you may be affected by that. But again, only in the middle of the day. And right now, we do look good. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
This report is sponsored by McKelvey Homes.
Hi, I'm Jim Brennan at McKelvey Homes. Have you always wished for a brand new home in an established neighborhood? Select one of our move-in ready custom homes throughout St. Louis, or we will build on your lot. Visit McKelveyhomes.com and move up to McKelvey.
All right, I'm planning to go to the Range St. Louis West a little later today on my way home and stop and see my friends over there and maybe make some purchases, which is always fun. Here's the thing about it. If you're listening to the sound of my voice right now and you are a shooter or you own a gun, this is what you need to do. You need to go register, because the Range is giving away 5,000 rounds of 9mm ammunition. 5 different winners will win 1,000 rounds each. And this is only a contest available to people who listen to my radio program. So share it with your friends. Tell them to listen. Tell them to go to therangestl.com/ammo. That's the only way to sign up. If you just go to the Range website, you won't find this. You have to go to therangestl.com/ammo, AMMO, in order to register. You don't have to buy anything. It's open to people in Missouri and Illinois. If you have a valid FOID card in Illinois, you can also win this contest. You don't have to buy anything. They're celebrating the countdown to 250 years of American freedom, baby, by giving away some freedom seeds. 5 people are going to win 1,000 rounds of 9mm, but the winner is going to be drawn July 1st. So you got about 5 days left to register. Get online today. Go to therangestl.com/ammo, or go visit them over there at 14803 Manchester Road in Baldwin, and I'll see you at the Range.
Protect your liver and give it the support that it deserves by making Active Liver from New Nordic part of your daily wellness routine. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
97.1 FM Talk is proud to partner with Guns N' Hoses to support St. Louis area tornado victims, and we need your help. This is Annie inviting you to bring supplies to Dave Munganast St. Louis Honda Monday through Saturday. Visit 971talk.com/relief.
Living in reality. The Marc Cox Morning Show. The Marc Cox Morning Show, on the air and streaming at 971talk.com.
I can't walk out because I love you too much, baby.
So they're having Pride Fest this weekend in downtown St. Louis. The area around our radio station is currently blocked off, like all of the streets from 12th Street down here to the west, all the way up to the soccer stadium are blocked off. Like the streets between Olive and Market Street, all the side streets are blocked off with blockades this morning because they're getting ready to bring in the tents and everything else they're going to do for Pride Fest. And okay, that's fine. Everybody has if it was just one weekend, I guess it wouldn't bother me so much as the fact that we have a month set aside in this country to celebrate LGBTQ XYZ LMNOP stuff. But we have to take one day, maybe one day, to celebrate presidents like George Washington or Abraham
veterans.
Lincoln, or veterans,
or
moms,
all of
or
this
dads.
Other,
one day, but for Pride, we get a home. Okay, whatever. If you're feeling that bad about yourself, take your month, whatever. I'm just glad I won't be in town this weekend for that mess, but that's okay. I will not have to deal with it if you choose to subject yourself to that. Good luck to you. This is what sticks in my craw. We had a conversation on this show the other day, Kim, about whether or not, I think it was Josh Hawley who introduced the bill to ban the burning of the American flag.
He and I
wants
believe
to
Trump
criminalize
too.
it,
They
right?
want to criminalize it, and they actually think you should be. I guess was it 1 year in prison? They think you should be potentially having to serve if you burn an American flag.
I think there was a
It's 1
prison
year, yeah.
term associated with it. And a lot of people screamed, free speech, free speech. We should be able to burn the American flag if we want. So, it pisses me off when I see people in LA who don't want to go back to Mexico waving American flags around while they burn the American flag, protesting the fact that criminal investigators of ICE are rounding up some of their illegal counterparts and trying to send them back to Mexico. Now, they seem to like Mexico because they're waving the American flag or the Mexican flag. They're burning the American flag. I want to throat punch those people. Do you understand that? It offends me to watch that. I also understand they have a First Amendment right to express their opinion. And until they get violent with me, okay, we can have that debate about whether that's okay or not. But what happened in Atlanta right now really, really, really goes over the line. Here's what you need to know. Some Atlanta teens ages 16 to 18 are now, the hunt is on, there's a manhunt underway for them, facing hate crime charges and prison time because they, wait for it, vandalized a pride flag in Atlanta, Georgia. The Atlanta Police Department is looking for 2 other teenagers. Apparently, they found 2 of them. They're looking for 2 more because they tore up LGBTQ flags in Atlanta, Georgia. And instead of just charging them with vandalism, remember in the state of Missouri now, apparently you can vandalize somebody's car with hateful stickers because you don't like the guy that built the car, and you might get your wrist slapped. You won't even get a vandalism charge. In Kirkwood, all they got was harassment or something like that. In Atlanta, they're looking at hate crime charges against the people who burned the pride flag in Midtown with a hate crime. And I don't even know if they burned it. They just tore them
ripping it up.
Right? They ripped them down. There were videos and photos of them cutting up the flags with a knife.
the hate crime charge is really ridiculous because here's what I've said about American flags. I disagree with Holly. I don't think you should have to face jail time for burning the American flag. As much as I hate it, I do think it is freedom of speech, but you should also be able to burn a pride flag and it should be covered. Now,
should that be freedom of speech? Why is that a hate crime?
The only difference is if, say, a business has an American flag, you rip that down, or a business has a pride flag and you rip that down. That I see is vandalism because it's somebody's property.
Well,
You're
but
stealing
charge
the
them with
property.
vandalism.
Right. That's why I'm saying the hate crime goes way too far in this case.
You can burn the American flag in the streets of LA during an anti-ICE protest and nothing happens to you. And you can just about murder somebody here. I mean, it's just crazy. We'll be back in just a minute. Stay tuned.
Hey everyone, this is Sarah from Fantagram, and I am here speaking out about mental illness and the seriousness of this disease in hopes that we can overcome the stigma surrounding it. Last year, my sister committed suicide after her lifelong battle with depression and anxiety. There has been a stigma in our culture surrounding mental illness and suicide. This stigma can lead to discrimination and negative stereotyping, which makes it harder for the ones who are suffering to reach out. But it's okay to not feel okay, and it's okay to get help. We can all help by listening to people around us, encouraging friends and family who are struggling to talk to either us or professional counselors. We all need to help instill courage in others facing these challenges. And I'm listening.
To have a roof over your head, a nice roof over your head, is very important.
That's Rick talking about his experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago, and they're very cooperative on getting us the right paint. They were in and out and done in no time. Once it was finished, looked great. We were very happy with it.
The main reason Rick called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by a 25-year transferable warranty.
We've watched a lot of people get their house painted 3 or 4 times, and we haven't had to do any of it. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to have to paint it every 5-7 years.
Take a tip from Rick and put down the paintbrush and call Rhino Shield for your free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago. Financially makes sense, especially if it's going to last like this did. Still looks great.
Call now. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
Don't paint, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're fighting against childhood cancer every day. At the heart of this battle are our donors.
Most of us want to make some type of difference in the lives of others. St. Jude does miraculous work.
The fact that no one has to pay, it's a place where everyone is treated as an equal.
Everybody is welcome here, and it doesn't matter your religion or what part of the world you're from. All that is taken away. It just gives you some hope.
It's just a nice feeling to put your energy into something that really does genuinely make a difference in a child's life.
There's just no greater gift. If we have the ability to help, then we have a responsibility to help.
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Find out how you can help at stjude.org.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
Victory over Israel and the U.S. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Iran's supreme leader just declared that in a post on X and then on state TV. Also claiming the U.S. only got involved in the war to stop Israel from being completely destroyed. Ayatollah Khamenei also claims the U.S. gained no achievement and Iran slapped us in the face. All this in stark contrast to President Trump insisting that U.S. airstrikes blew up their nuclear program. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, standing next to him at the NATO summit, added,
So if you want to make an assessment of what happened at Fordo, you better get a big shovel and go really deep, because Iran's nuclear program is obliterated.
An hour from now, Hegseth will give an update at the Pentagon at a press briefing after he and the president pushed back on reports of a leaked initial Pentagon assessment that the airstrikes might have only done limited damage. The Senate will get a briefing on the airstrikes today, the House tomorrow, but Fox's Lucas Tomlinson reports.
The White House now wants to limit the sharing of some classified information with Congress in a sign of where it thinks that leak came from. Here's President Trump's Deputy Attorney General on charging the leaker.
Whether it's treasonous and whether someone will be charged with treason, listen, we'll work that out, but you better believe that the Department of Justice is going to do everything we can to find out who did this.
A scare for a Republican congresswoman. Kat Kemick's office was evacuated after threats she got from pro-choice activists over an interview she did with the Wall Street Journal over her ectopic pregnancy.
Kemick, who is pro-life, talks in the interview about exceptions for rape, incest, and instances in which the mother's life is at risk. She believes people mistakenly think that she's in the state legislature and voted for Florida's new heartbeat law, which makes abortion illegal after 6 weeks gestation.
Fox's Gary Baumgarten, a Democratic Congresswoman, LaMonica McIver, thinks she's a political target after pleading not guilty to charges she assaulted immigration agents in a scuffle outside a detention center last month.
They will not intimidate me. They will not stop me from doing my job.
America's listening to Fox News.
Sometimes an identity threat is a ring of professional hackers. And sometimes it's an overworked accountant who forgot to encrypt their connection while sending bank details.
I need a coffee.
And you need LifeLock because your info is in endless places. It only takes one mistake to expose you to identity theft. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Good morning. I'm Kim St. for 97.1 FM Talk. 80 degrees now at 6:03. As promised, Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey has filed a petition to remove St. Louis Sheriff Alfred Montgomery from his job. Bailey accuses Montgomery of financial mismanagement and abuse of authority since he took office back in January. A spokesperson for the sheriff says he remains fully committed to the duties of his elected office and has no plans to resign. The Animal Protective Association shelter in Brentwood says it is bursting at the seams with pets and needs help. In June, so just this month so far, the shelter has seen a 72% increase in rescues brought in. So for that reason, the APA is running an adoption special that'll go on until July 4th, which is next Friday. As part of that, all pets are $25. That includes the fees. They say they're microchipped, plus they'll come with a leash and a bag of food to get you started. Hey, did you hear about this cool new food truck park that is set to open in St. Charles? This area, which will be called Bench Racers, will open for a few events in October, and then the plan is to permanently open on weekends starting next spring. The 1-acre site in historic Frenchtown between Main Street and Highway 370. It'll feature this barbecue and beverage bar that'll be inside a restored gas station. Plus, it'll be a stage for live music and big screen TVs to watch sports. 6:04, 80 degrees at 97.1 FM Talk. In sports, Cards shut out last night by the Cubs, unfortunately. Final score of that game, 8-0. They'll be wrapping up the series with a day game today starting at 1:15. Yesterday, City lost to Orlando City, final score 4-2. And the second round of the NBA draft is coming up tonight. As expected, Cooper Flagg from Duke was the first pick and went to the Dallas Mavericks last night. Coming up on 6:05, 80 degrees, you're listening to 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Off to a good start on the roads this morning, and we look good. And that's throughout really the entire area. Now, I just had a report of a commercial vehicle fire. It first came down at Dunn Road at Imperial Drive, and then it came down again at Dunn Road and Riverview, and those are not near each other. But if you happen to be out traveling, you may see a little bit of smoke in one spot or the other. Of course, we don't have cameras there, so I'm unable to see. Now, for the most part, though, we look great. And on the interstates, for sure, things are looking good. This report brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, Lakeside Renovation and Design has been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes inside and out. We've got windows, siding, kitchens, baths, outdoor spaces. They do it all and deliver quality craftsmanship backed by lifetime warranties. Visit lakesiderd.com to start your dream project today. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
The beast of summer continues on this Thursday. A fast warm up again, partly to mostly sunny, hot and humid. 97 for the high. The record is 102 from 1954, so that is safe. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, 90s for evening plans, 77 for the low. Friday, partly sunny, hot and humid. A couple of spot afternoon storms, 94. A bit of an uptick in scattered thunderstorms over the weekend. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Our time is 6:06, 80 degrees right now. You can listen to the Marc Cox Morning Show or any other show on 97.1 FM Talk anytime or anywhere by downloading the free Odyssey app.
The Marc Cox Morning Show is brought to you by Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group, retirementkey.com.
The Marc Cox Morning Show.
Listen to both sides. The bottom line is, I respect that we don't agree.
You're listening to the Marc Cox Morning Show.
Just to find a voice. Who is this guy? He's saying what we've been saying forever.
I don't know how to put this.
Marc Cox.
I'm kind of a big deal.
Well, it adds excitement, doesn't it, folks?
All right, good morning to you. Happy you're here. It's a Thursday morning, the 26th day of June. It's going to be a heater out there again this morning, and we will, of course, keep you up to date on all of that as it goes along, the traffic and everything else. Kim St. Anjan here with me this morning, and, of course, Ethan is running the board over there, doing a great job. We got Sue Thomas before too long, and we're going to get to all of it. We got a big show for you. Coming up, we're going to talk to our friend Bevis Schock, of course, attorney with Schock Law, schocklaw.com, because the biggest shock this week, if I can make a play on his last name, is that the Attorney General has told the Sheriff of St. Louis to get out of town. The Sheriff says he's not going anywhere. Yesterday, he filed legal paperwork to remove him from office. It's called quo warranto. And if you didn't go to law school like me, we're going to let a legal expert like Bevis explain what that is. They tried to do it with Kim Gardner. Remember, they threatened this with her too. So we'll check in with Bevis coming up here in the next segment. Tom Ackerman at the bottom of the hour. Find out about that big home run derby the Cardinals had the other day and how their prospects are looking at the moment. So stay tuned for that. Also, next hour, I don't know what to expect. We're supposed to have a news conference starting in about an hour from Pete Hegseth and Department of Defense officials explaining what evidence they have about the bombing in Iran, what the impact was, no pun intended, what we really destroyed, what we didn't destroy. That's supposed to happen at 7. You know, those things don't always happen on time. We had already scheduled Alan Dershowitz in that time slot, the attorney who you see on Fox all the time, to talk about some of the big issues that are going on with the Supreme Court. This is the end of the Supreme Court session this week. So today and tomorrow are when they're going to unleash a flood of major decisions, including the ones on whether or not all these local district court judges can step in and stop with injunctions the president of the United States just because their politics don't agree with him. That's what it seems like in most of these cases. So we will be sure and check in with Alan on that when we get him on the air. We've got Jim Talent scheduled next hour as well. Shannon Bream a little bit later. I mean, we have got a fantastic and very full show for you this morning. There's no doubt about that. So we're going to get to all of that for you coming up here in just a few minutes. And right now, Ethan, why don't we go ahead and get to our short list, please?
The Marc Cox short list.
Let them fight for about 2-3 minutes. Then it's easier to stop them.
And then Daddy has to sometimes use strong language.
You have to use strong language. Every once in a while, you have to use a certain word.
There's President Trump. Of course, he's talking about what's going on there with Zelensky, and you've got Benjamin Netanyahu. They're trying to throw him out of office over there, throw him in jail or something, and been one of the greatest leaders in the history of Israel. What in the world is going on?
I wanted to know how he's doing. He was very nice, actually. We had little rough times sometimes. He was couldn't have been nicer. I think he'd like to see an end to this. I do.
And he wore a suit. He's talking about Volodymyr Zelensky, who showed up in the Netherlands wearing a suit, because when you need more money, you need to suck up to the people who have it. And he's hoping for more U.S. support, no doubt.
I wish I could yield back the last 5 minutes of my life, actually. And I want to apologize to the people of Arizona that we have somebody who's representing the folks in one of our great parts of the valley that doesn't care about the integrity of our election. So
Carrie Lake went sideways on a U.S. congressman yesterday, but in that sort of sweet way that Carrie Lake does. The guy was speechless. That doesn't happen very often in Congress. I'll try to play that for you here coming up in just a minute.
For weeks, my office has received reports of misconduct, malfeasance, and unethical behavior regarding the St. Louis City Sheriff. This is about restoring the rule of law. Each count is significant enough to warrant removal from office.
Yeah, that's the Attorney General there, and Andrew Bailey yesterday talking about why he filed what he did against the Sheriff Montgomery, and we'll be watching that story today closely and getting our friend Bevis Schock to comment on it coming up here in just a few minutes. Let me get back to this Carrie Lake story. So Carrie Lake is the one trying to help wind down, among other things, the Voice of America. VOA has a long and I don't know, rich history in America. It was a voice of freedom to a lot of people in the Soviet Union and other countries, socialist countries, Cuba, places like that, for a long time. Somewhere it got off track, and there are certain rules to the Voice of America, Kim, and I don't know if you're familiar with them or not, but for example, it cannot broadcast within the continental United States, even though the broadcast originates in the continental United States. It's somewhere along the line, Congress lost control of what happens with the Voice of America. And and many people agree, and like Carrie Lake and the President of the United States, it's no longer serving the purpose it was originally designed for, and it costs a lot of money to support. And as you're looking to streamline government, this is one of the areas you're looking at. So Lake was brought in to testify at this hearing on DOJ cuts. A part of them would affect PBS and all of that stuff, but specifically on the Voice of America. And there was a congressman there from Arizona. It's a Democrat who doesn't like Carrie Lake, because Carrie Lake ran for governor out there and lost, and she had issues with how the election went. She's been very loud. She's been in court. She claims that it was mishandled. Polls were shut down. People were still trying to vote in heavy Republican areas. Those votes were never counted. She claims that she won that race. She sticks to it to this day. And the guy was blasting her for that. Go to cut 9, please.
I wish I could yield back the last 5 minutes of my life, actually. And I want to apologize to the people of Arizona that we have somebody who's representing the folks in one of our great parts of the valley that doesn't care about the integrity of our election. So
Yeah, he referred to Carrie Lake as toxic. This Representative Stanton is his name, out of Arizona. And then she said, I'd rather refocus on why we're here, Congressman, which is to talk about the VOA. And then she just gutted him like a fish. Go to cut 10 for us, Ethan, please.
We're talking about USAGM today, the Agency for Global Media, and how they can put out absolute abject lies, and we can't control any. We have no say over what the editorial content is, and I would hope that you would not be okay with that. They could literally put out a lie about anybody here, and I know you've been the victim of that. I know you've been the victim. I remember the stories about you where they said you had a gay lover, and those were going out
Mr.
all
Chair,
over. Can I
I hope
finish the story?
you honor what you just gave as a caution to everyone, and I moved those words be
to tell you that those kind of lies, and you said
I'll
those
rule
were
if you want.
lies. Those kind of lies could be broadcast today on VOA, and you couldn't pick up the phone, Representative Stanton, and call them and say, hey, you're putting out lies about me. You would not be able to do that because they would sue you for breaking the firewall. So lies are being told on Voice of America. It's inappropriate. You've been subjected to lies that you said were lies about you in the media before. And how would you like it if those lies were put on Voice of America right now?
Wow. The guy wasn't the one protesting. It was another congressman sitting behind him trying to get her to shut up about what she was saying about the stories that were apparently reported about it, because she was an anchor in Arizona. She remembers when these stories came out. And that's the last thing that guy wanted to talk about in that hearing yesterday.
It really is mind-blowing that the federal government is still supporting these different public media groups. I don't get it.
And we wouldn't even know about it if it wasn't for a change in government here. I mean, this story would just be covered up. All right, quick break here. We'll get to our friend Bevis Schock and what's going on with the Attorney General and the Sheriff of St. Louis. Stay tuned.
Catch anything you missed today by getting the show podcast at 971talk.com. Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Good morning. I'll tell you what, we look great on the roads. We've got light traffic at this hour. So let me mention some road work scheduled tonight on 64 in St. Charles County. 7 o'clock tonight until 5:30 tomorrow morning. Crews will have one eastbound lane closed, and that is going to be between Winghaven and K. And then 8:30 tonight until 9 a.m. tomorrow, they'll have one westbound lane closed on 6440 from 364 to Route K. It's all just some road work. Right now, we are in great shape throughout the area. That's Missouri and Illinois. And traffic is brought to you by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
The Martins came over, we were having spaghetti when we suddenly noticed and we started getting sweaty. So we grabbed the keys and we ate it in the van. That's what my friend said, call Jerry Kelly, man, JerryKelly.com. Give him a call even though it's late, JerryKelly.com.
Retirement Advisory Group does such a great service for people. I hope if you are in the era of your life where retirement is pending, you've got something like that coming up here before long, you want to talk to somebody who's been there, somebody who's counseled untold thousands of people. They've got all kinds of customers all over the St. Louis area because they've been around for 38 years. Talk to somebody who knows what other people have gone through in retirement so you're not surprised. The last thing you want is a surprise in retirement. Call 314-993-9494. Go to the Retirement Advisory Group. You'll sit down with Bob Kershaw or Tammy Kershaw. You know, Thomas Helbig started this 38 years ago. They've been telling people how to protect their nest egg, how to set up your nest egg so that it supports you throughout your retirement. Your money lasts as long as you do. That's what they do. And if you're 59 and a half, you've hit a key time where you can protect the money you've set aside in that 401k. Ask them about that. Call them today at 314-993-9494. Tell them Marc Cox sent you, or go online to schedule. It's retirementkey.com.
Star Stripes and Sizzling Sales. 3 days only, June 27th, 28th, and 29th at Ruler Foods. Stock up on summer essentials like Kroger Butter, $2.99. Kroger Classic Garden Salad, just 99 cents. Save on General Mills cereal, $5.49. Kroger Self-Rising Crust Pizza, only $3.69. And save on Kroger Bacon and Kroger Broads, just $3.49 each. These Ruler Foods deals only for 3 days. Don't miss out. Celebrate big and save even bigger. Only at Ruler Foods. RulerFoods.com.
Cash for Clunkers is back. Overhead Door Company of St. Louis is paying cash for your clunkers now. They'll haul away your old garage door and give you instant credit towards a new insulated door. $200 for the first garage door and $100 for each additional door. Cash in your old entry door, too. It's Cash for Clunkers now at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Convenient, free, in-home estimates. Schedule online at overheaddoorsstlouis.com. or call 314-781-5200.
Summer in St. Louis means one thing: Cardinals baseball. It's more than a game. It's an STL tradition. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, the boom of the fireworks. It's the soundtrack to summer for Cardinals Nation. So grab your cap and glove and take your spot in the stands, because in St. Louis, baseball is more than a melody. It's our favorite song.
This is former Cardinal and Navy Lieutenant Mitch Harris. Salute those who serve. Join the Cardinals on Friday, July 11th for Military Appreciation Night, presented by Boeing. With a special themed ticket, fans will take home an exclusive Cardinals 40-ounce tumbler, honoring all 6 military branches. Arrive early for a powerful pregame concert by the U.S. Air Force Band on the Budweiser stage. And best of all, a portion of each ticket benefits USO Missouri. Get your tickets at cardinals.com/think. St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
I've got great news. We're back with more on the Marc Cox Morning Show. Follow the show on Facebook, facebook.com/The Marc Cox Show.
Attorney General Andrew Bailey gave Sheriff Alfred Montgomery until noon today to quit. The sheriff said he was standing firm, saying he's done nothing wrong. And when that deadline came and went, Bailey followed through with his ousting effort.
Yeah. Yes, he did. You heard the bite earlier from the Attorney General. In fact, we had him on yesterday. He's been all over the media. I think Reardon had him on yesterday afternoon, or he was in studio, I'll point out to Kim St. Ange. He wouldn't get up and come in early for us. I gave him some grief about that yesterday. But in the meantime, we're dealing with the fact that the sheriff says he's not going anywhere, and the effort has now been filed in court. My friend Bevis Schock from Schock Law is on the phone with us this morning to explain to us what the Latin term quo warranto really means. Bevis, what do you think?
Well, so I did take Latin in high school, and I was very good at it because I didn't have to do anything but memorize a bunch of weird words, and a lot of the words are similar to modern words. Quo means the question, what? What does it mean? Quo. Quo warranto means by what warrant or authority. So imagine you're in the Middle Ages and some king is the boss in England, and you're the local sheriff, and you kind of start getting out of line. You start locking up people that shouldn't be locked up. You're stealing from your population. The king comes in and says, by what authority are you doing this? Quo warranto meaning kind of the word authority. What are you doing this? And so the sheriff would have to come to I guess a court they had then and say, well, my authority as sheriff includes stealing from the people. And he'd say, no, he doesn't. No, it doesn't. You're out. And off he would go. And that'd be the end of that. So that's the source. Now we should really upgrade some of these terms. But on the other hand, they make it seem have lawyers feel mysterious and above other people. So Latin is always good. Hi, Kim. Hi.
Hey, good morning.
Yeah, good.
I like this explanation because
Yeah,
I didn't
thank you.
know. You hear these fancy words and it's like right over your head. What does that even mean? Officially, but that explains it, because that's the question too. And that was kind of what I was asking Bailey yesterday was like, do you actually have the power, because he was elected, Montgomery, do you have the power to just remove him basically, and what that process would even look like? How complicated is that?
Yeah, so here's what I think is going to happen. So he does have the authority. There's a statute, which is a law passed by the legislature. And there's also what we call in the legal game a rule. So the Missouri Supreme Court establishes rules of the game, like on a tennis match or basketball court. Here's the way we play. And the rules allow for an action like this against an elected official. Now, I'm not going to explain why, but some officials you can impeach, and some you get rid of by quo warranto. This is a quo warranto. So I think the Attorney General has the guy pretty tight. But the first thing that's going to happen is that all the judges in St. Louis City are going to say, I'm not handling this. And that's called a recusal, because the guy who's managing the courtroom, his courtroom security, works for the defendant. So they're all going to say we're out. And that will take a week. Then the Missouri Supreme Court has to appoint somebody new. Now, I talked to a judge yesterday, a retired judge. He said, they do that pretty fast, Bevis. That's usually 2 or 3 days. So let's give them that. So they'll appoint somebody to come in from Rolla or Kansas City or something, some judge who's a properly appointed, duly sitting, proper judge, just not from St. Louis City. And they're not going to do somebody from St. Louis County either. That wouldn't make any sense. And then that person will come in. And then we have a thing in the law, a rule, which allows any party to say, I don't like that judge. I want a new judge. That's called a change of judge. You get one count, one shot at that. So by the way, the sheriff Montgomery has hired an ex-judge named Mason, Judge Mason, who is one of the most distinguished members of the bar, was a really popular judge. Everybody liked Judge Mason. Everybody thought he was very competent, seldom reversed by the Court of Appeals, tried a million cases, knows what he's doing. So Montgomery's hired a really good lawyer. He's going to ask for what's called a change of judge, and that will add another 2 or 3 weeks to the process. And Andrew Bailey won't do that, but because that would imply he doesn't trust the judges, which would be bad. And then we'll get at the merits finally, maybe in late July. That's my prediction. And the trial's going to take a while, right? I mean, you got to prove all this stuff.
So Sheriff Montgomery, and what you're telling us, is going to get to enjoy that brand new SUV he bought, despite the fact that the department has no money for quite a while. Yeah,
I think that's the deal to cut. So, hey, man, here's what we do. We give you 3 months pay. You keep the Tahoe. Get out of our hair.
Yeah, that could happen. Absolutely.
That's why he bought it.
$52,000, and they're in a budget
cheap. That's
deficit.
a deal.
Is
What
it?
if he got that from Don Brown? I don't know.
But
listen, and did he negotiate him down? I mean, my wife and I buy cars once in a while, and I say, "Hey, honey, shut up! I'm a genius. I'll get a deal for us," which then completely fails. The guy says, "I'm not cutting you a deal, Beavis."
Yeah, of course. Bevis Schock, listen, we appreciate your time, my friend. Thanks for the explanation.
All right. Talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for the Latin lesson.
I feel smarter.
Quo Warranto.
After learning that.
I do know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Under what authority?
Under what authority?
Are you telling me to do that? So
I'll just use that casually when I'm talking to people.
You
just
should.
To sound fancy.
You should. That'll impress them. And then they'll have to stop and ask you, what does that mean? And then you can impress them with your knowledge. Given to us by Bevis Schock. Schocklaw.com. You can check him out there. Tom Ackerman will be in here, and under his authority as a sports director, will explain to us exactly how the Cardinals are doing right now, and maybe more about that City game that took place yesterday. We'll be back in just a minute.
The Marc Cox Morning Show
on 97.1 FM Talk.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon for Generator Supercenter of St. Louis. And you know, your home is your sanctuary. You need to take the first step to peace of mind with a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator from the #1 Generac generator dealer in the country, Generator Supercenter. We learned the hard way here in St. Louis during the tornado recently that power can be knocked out. But even outside of that, what if the power grid fails and it's 100 degrees here in St. Louis? You don't want to be that person. Get with Generator Supercenter of St. Louis today. Generator Supercenter of St. Louis.com. Tell them that we sent you along.
Let's talk about Rhino Shield for just a minute and what it's done for me, what it's done for a lot of homeowners. If you survived that hailstorm a couple years ago, you saw your neighbors with holes punched in their siding because of that storm. The people with Rhino Shield didn't have that problem. It kind of bounced off because it is a ceramic coating that hardens on the outside of whatever's on your house. That is unpainted brick, painted brick for that matter. You've got hardy cement board, you get steel or aluminum. That stuff tends to fade and look chalky after a while. Not with Rhino Shield. It goes on. It is beautifully durable. The colors stay bright and vivid, and it lasts for, a quarter of a century. It's fantastic. All the reviews are great. You go on and read the Google reviews with people giving them 5 stars for the application and, of course, the durability of this great product. Call them today at 877-25-RHINO or online at 877-25rhino.com.
A lot of people, when they come in, they'll say, this is my last hope. The next step is getting them in the right arch supports. Our goal is to have that long-term change for them. To see someone that is in pain, I change things for them. See how we can help you with a free fitting at the Good Feet store.
Baseball is all about stepping up to the plate when it matters most. And when you've been injured, you need a heavy hitter in your corner. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Proud sponsor of the St. Louis Cardinals.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
I'm Kim St. Ange for 97.1 FM Talk. 80 degrees now at 6:30. St. Peter's the latest city to deal with a road buckling because of all this crazy extreme heat. This happened Wednesday on the northbound lane of West Sunny Hill Boulevard near Fairview Glen Drive. That's not far from Woodland State Park, just for context. City officials there in St. Peter's hope to reopen that road by Monday once they do repairs. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker is expected to announce today that he will be running for a third term in 2026. Multiple sources close to Pritzker's campaign say he'll be making that announcement at in-person events in both Chicago and Springfield. Now, unlike Missouri, Illinois has no term limits on its constitutional offices. In sports, Cards shut out last night by the Cubs. Final score 8-0. Wrapping up the series with the day game today at 1:15. City lost to Orlando City 4-2. Second round of NBA draft coming up tonight. As expected, Cooper Flagg from Duke, first pick, and went to the Dallas Mavericks. I'm Kim St. Ange, now 6:31, 80 degrees. You're listening to 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Good morning. Well, there's a little bit of a slowdown this morning. Eastbound 6440 on either side of Wing Haven. There's road work out there. Now, it's mainly on the shoulder, but it is causing people to slow down a bit here this morning. But once you get just east of Wing Haven, that will open up and things look fine into downtown. Northbound 55, the beginnings of that Bayless volume that we see this time during the day. And other than that, we're fine. We still look good on the Illinois side at this hour. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
This report is sponsored by McKelvey Homes.
Hi, I'm Jim Brennan at McKelvey Homes. Have you always wished for a brand new home in an established neighborhood? Select one of our move-in ready custom homes throughout St. Louis, or we will build on your lot. Visit McKelveyhomes.com and move up to McKelvey.
All right, just talked to my friend Tom, the owner out of Chesterfield Fence yesterday. And did you know that, of course, they do brand new fences, brand new decks. They also do repairs on fences and decks. If that's something you need, you can call them up and get them to come out and give you a free estimate on fixing your deck rails or, redoing the deck surface if that's what you've got. And they've got some fantastic ideas for you, some maintenance-free vinyl decking that you don't have to worry about, right? Repainting it every few years. They do the same thing with the fencing. And then they've got their new projects that they do. And right now, if you mention my name when you reach out there, 48 months interest-free financing on your next outdoor project with Chesterfield Fence and Deck. ChesterfieldFence.com. You can go on there and maybe get some inspiration. If you're not sure what you want, they'll come to you. If you know what you want, they've got free project design. If you don't, they've got a whole digital photo gallery of great ideas, and maybe you'll see something that catches your eye, a new enclosed space outdoors where you can enjoy all the seasons, and you got a screen porch, or you want a full all-season room, pergolas. They do it all. Fire pits. They can take care of whatever you need in your backyard. Again, 48 months interest-free financing. If you mention my name through the end of the month, go online at ChesterfieldFence.com.
The Cards, the Cubs.
St. Ben Cancer Center game time, 1:15. Play ball! St. Ben Cancer Center, national leader in cancer.
The home of the Cardinals. 104.1 FM KMOX.
Straight Realty has always been an industry leader when it comes to commissions. So it should come as no surprise that the recent Realtor settlement has only empowered us to continue offering our sellers even better rates. We now list homes for only 2%. Hi, I'm Christina Straight, owner of Straight Realty. Call me, 314-441-4444. Why pay more than 2? You can also listen to my podcast on my website, straightrealty.com.
Commissions are not regulated and are negotiable. Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri.
If he were a baseball player, he'd be batting 1,000. The Marc Cox Morning Show. Find everything Marc Cox at 971talk.com/Cox.
A great sportsman like Tom Ackerman. Baseball is really not a hard sport.
It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
It's like powered by coffee this morning.
Sports, sponsored by McDonald's, reminding you to round up your total for Ronald McDonald House charities on your next order.
All right, Tom Ackerman in here drinking coffee as we introduce him because we all need caffeine at this hour.
Yeah, we're covering sports. We got baseball late at night. Things happen. You got to the Cardinals got to get rid of that one quickly. You got a day game today. You got to get over it and get after it because the momentum was so good coming into the game yesterday. Guys were talking about how they just can't wait to get to the ballpark, can't wait to hit. And the Cubs came in first pitch that Eric Fetty threw last night. Ian Happ hit it out of the ballpark, and you just knew that it was going to be trouble. Fetty just did not have it last night. He was throwing balls down the middle of the plate, and the Cubs were hitting him. He just had a really off night, and the Cardinals couldn't respond, couldn't score. It was just a bad night for him. So they lose 8-0, and today they play Shota Imanaga. He's good. He's the Cubs ace. He hasn't pitched in 6 weeks. He's been out with a hamstring injury, almost 7 weeks now for him. So they'll counter with Andre Palante, and he was very good in his last start against the Reds. And the Cardinals are a really good ball club. I mean, they're in the race right now. They just had a rough night after beating the Cubs twice. And the Cardinals' offense has been very tough. I mean, over this run, they've averaged about 7 runs a game. Now that's going to be about 6.5 after getting blanked last night.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But a really good team, man. The Cubs are, and the Cardinals are, and the Brewers are, and the Reds are right there too. It's a 4-team race right now in the NL Central. Here's how it stacks up. The Cubs, then the Brewers are 2.5 out. Cardinals 3.5 out. Reds 5.5 out.
The Cubs are in the lead.
Have been all season.
Man, that's an uncomfortable situation.
I mean, it is what it is.
I feel more comfortable, though, that they beat him the first 2 games. Like you said, I'm looking at it like, wow, I can't believe we beat him because I knew they were number 1 in the NL Central. So at least we're not getting blown away. At least it's not a sweep so far where this is, well, at least an opportunity today to sweep us.
The first 2 games were really fun. The Cardinals smoked them in the first game. It was just not even a contest, 8-2. The second game, the Cardinals were up. Actually down 5-2, came back, tied the game, zapped a home run, did Nolan Gorman. And then the play of the game was Pete Crow Armstrong, the excellent center fielder for the Cubs, just had a lapse for whatever reason. He forgot how many outs there were. So Mason Wynn is standing at second base, and Alec Burleson hits a deep fly ball to center. And Crow Armstrong goes up, makes the catch, and then just kind of casually twirls around like the inning's over.
Oh, no.
Wynn just keeps on running. Pop Warner waves him home. That's a sac fly RBI from second base that gave the Cardinals an 8-5 lead, and they won it 8-7. It ended up being the winning run. So that was a rough one. I'm sure the Cubs showed up yesterday focused and ready to go after getting embarrassed in those first 2 games. They don't obviously like losing in St. Louis, losing to the Cardinals, losing it all. But this is a good rivalry, and, they're showing some pride. Now the Cardinals need to come back today on a hot afternoon at Busch Stadium and try to capture 3 of 4, get themselves back to where they wanted to be. They go to Cleveland this weekend, and coming up July 4th, they'll go to Wrigley Field, and they'll play the Cubs for 3. It's really been a fun time, I think, these two going at it. I'm hearing we're going to have a really good crowd today. For whatever reason, the tickets sold like hotcakes for this thing. So we'll see who ends up showing up on a really hot day. But I'm hearing the ticket sales were very high for this afternoon's game.
That's good.
Yeah.
I would be voted least likely to look at the baseball standings. So that's where my next question comes from. On the other side, have the White Sox gotten any sort of a bump out of Pope Leo? Like, has that helped them at all?
Actually,
Has it,
yeah, a little bit. I mean, the Cardinals went in and swept them, but they were doing fine up until then. But they're not going to do much this year.
I'm sorry,
Mark. I mean, they're one of the worst teams in baseball. The Rockies are the worst team in baseball. They're 18-62. The White Sox are 26-55. They won yesterday, but they're not going to be doing a lot of winning. That's a team that's way far away from where they need to be. They've put themselves in a hole they're sort of developing at the moment.
Didn't they have a Pope Leo night or something like that where they honored him? And
it was at the ballpark, but was it during a game? It was a different. It was an event when they were out of town, wasn't it?
And he appeared, virtually and gave an address. Now let's not forget Pope Leo's father was a Cardinals fan.
That's true.
Let's not forget that.
And his older brother is a Trump fan.
And his mom
lives in Florida.
His mom was is that right?
Pope Leo's not a Trump fan, though.
His mom was a Cubs fan.
So they got a little bit of that in there too.
Well, they're in Chicago. They got two teams up there. That's okay. That's all right.
Yeah.
So, Kim, I'm going to bring up the NBA, and not just because the MVP was a Kentucky graduate. That's not why I'm bringing it up. I want to play some soundbite from last night's NBA outing where they had the draft last night, right? They had the draft in the NBA. This is one of the things that happened last night.
With the 9th pick in the 2025 NBA Draft, the Toronto Raptors select Colin Murray Boyles from the University of South Carolina.
Colin Murray Boyles sharing this moment with his mom, Yvonne, his dad, Sean.
I wish
his brother James.
I wish
who
this was
a standout
TV
at
sometimes,
UNC
just so you
Pembroke.
could see that video and not just hear the audio. I don't know anything about the Raptors, Tom, but I'm guessing they're a pretty miserable NBA franchise.
Well, they've had their moments. They've done some winning.
So clearly, this Broyles kid did not want to go to the Raptors because the cameras are all on him, and they announce that he's the winner, and he stands up and he clearly drops the F-bomb. Like, wow, you can just hear him grunt it out, and you couldn't pick it up on camera, but you could read his lips very clearly. He was very clearly pissed off that he's going to the Raptors.
Just be happy you were drafted.
The video's going
right?
to go viral on the internet this morning because you can clearly tell that's not where he wanted to go play basketball.
What pick was he? What number?
9th.
I mean, you like the Mavericks, which is where Cooper Flag went. I mean, typically it works where the team that was the worst, they're going to get the best player,
pick,
like
right?
a Caitlin Clark, right? She went to the Fever.
Yeah.
So that's to be expected that you're probably not going to be in love with, if you're a top pick, right? You're not going to be in love with the team you're going to.
Yeah, you have to know about where you're going to be picked and who might be able to take you, and the teams will tell you, that they're interested in you. There's a big difference between the NBA and college basketball, I guess, in that respect, where, these obviously the players who are heading into college, whether you're a high school player, you get to pick where you're going to go. These teams recruit you and then you pick, or now players are just jumping into the portal and they decide, I want to go there.
Well, his agent
transfer there. So
surely
they just kind of move around freely. And in the NBA, you get locked into a contract. That's the other side of it, though, is you're making millions. I mean, these guys are getting paid a
top
ton
10
of money.
draft pick. He's going to make plenty, right?
Yeah, let me take
Guaranteed
my
money.
tiny violin out for him. I
I
don't
know,
feel sad for
but
him.
they all have agents. His agent
Right.
should have said, here's what's going to happen. Whoever picks you, just smile. You don't have to do anything else, and this is not what this kid did.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see how bad it is. You still get to go to all those other cities and travel around,
Exactly.
and live in luxury and play
Yep.
in every building, and eventually you're not going to play for the Raptors the rest of your life. I mean, at some point you'll play for somebody else. I don't know.
Highest average salary in professional sports, isn't it? NBA.
They're phenomenal
I
players.
didn't know that.
Yeah. I wouldn't argue. Well, yeah, and it's just, a smaller team. So
You're right, smaller.
But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. If I lived in an NBA city, I'd probably think higher of the NBA because you'd get to see the players in person all the time, and they are phenomenal at what they do. I just prefer college. I like the atmosphere of college games better, but there's no denying these guys are incredible at what they do. Best
Just
in the
wait till
world.
Kentucky and Indiana are doing those home and home games
baby,
again, baby.
We're playing you this year.
You
Let's
don't
go.
think St.
That's
Louis
right.
would ever get an NBA team, do you?
I think it's possible down the road. Yes, I think Tatum, Beal, some of these guys.
Oh, they got the cash to
down
do
the
it.
road.
Yeah.
Have a desire. Might be able to talk some people into it, but I think we're years away from that.
Interesting.
Well,
You
we
gotta
are a
run?
sports team.
Yeah, I got to go do.
All right.
We're a
sportscast.
sports city, I meant to
We're
say.
a great sports
We
city.
really
Yes, we
are.
are.
We've proven
We
that
are.
time and again.
We are.
All right. See you, Tom.
See you, Tom.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Don't forget
Appreciate
your
him coming
coffee.
in. Yeah, you'll need that. You'll need that for sure. Yeah. All right. Yeah. We had an NBA team at one point.
Did we?
American Basketball Association
What
many
was
years
the
ago.
name?
Who was it, Ethan?
We had the Spirits of St. Louis for a while, but then we
Yeah,
had
that
the
must
St.
have
Louis
been-
Hawks
The
who
Hawks.
moved to Atlanta.
Was that before I was born or when I was very
Cliff
young?
Hagan was part of that team.
Way
In fact,
before you
I
were
had him
born.
on
that
my
explains it.
had him on a Channel 4 years ago. He was a big Kentucky player, and he was on one of those teams.
You know how we talk about on the show where a lot of our conversations somehow get shifted back to food? That's how it is with you in Kentucky.
Well, but
Somehow
if
it's
it's-
like
if it's
y-
basketball,
like
it's
not a
probably going to
not a
gravitate toward
connection,
that.
but it goes to Kentucky. Did you know his great grandfather went to Kentucky?
Did you know that?
Did
yeah,
you know
just
that?
played basketball in Kentucky. Yeah. It's a badge of honor for these people and
Is
for
it?
me, of course. Is it really? All right, coming up, we'll get to other news in just a couple of minutes. Top of the hour, we are expecting a news conference from Pete Hegseth and I don't know who else, maybe some of the top generals at the Department of Defense talking about the real damage done in Iran. And we're going to carry that live for you coming up here at 7 a.m. or whenever it starts. So stick around for that. We'll be back.
Catch anything you missed today by getting the show podcast at 971talk.com. Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Good morning. We look pretty good on the roads this morning. A little bit of moderate volume on eastbound 70 out at Highway A and then east of K, but then things open up. Eastbound 64 has a little bit of volume just east of Winghaven, but then it opens up. Moderate volume starting to appear on northbound 270 at Highway 30 and again at Doherty Ferry. Nothing too terrible. Northbound 55 slowing a little bit at Bayless. Quiet on the Illinois side, and we still have eastbound 5570 closed for road work between 255 and 159. IDOT saying they will reopen that section of roadway by June 30th at 5 a.m. This report brought to you by the U.S. Air Force Band of Mid-America 4th of July concerts. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Celebrate Independence Day with a free concert by the U.S. Air Force Band of Mid-America. July 2nd, 7 p.m. at Logan University in Chesterfield, showcasing patriotic music and more. Get free tickets at afbandtix.org. That's afbandtix.org.
Time for you to pay a little more attention to what's going on with the trees in your yard. I know if you're not, I mean, I'm bad about that, being able to tell one tree from another, to be quite honest with you. That's why the folks at Hanson's are so great at what they do. They have certified arborists. They have those tree doctors, basically, who've studied all that, and they can tell you what's going on, if your tree is sick, if it's not sick, how to fix it, whether it can be fixed. These are all questions for the arborists at Hanson's Tree Service. One call will get one of them to your home, and then they'll kind of estimate what's going on around there. 636-379-1830. They're not charging you to come over there and take a look. 636-379-1830. And they can also tell if a tree is dead or if half of it's dead. That's what happened to my daughter. Huge tree in her front yard. Had to have the whole thing taken out because half the tree had died. The other half was still alive, but you couldn't risk that falling on a roof or a car. Could have been very dangerous. Hanson's took care of it, and I love working with them because you're not going to find a tree that's too big for them to take down. And then they also do mulch and compost, which you can order from their website and have it delivered, in most cases, to your driveway. Just go online to hansonstree.com.
When you ride, you feel the freedom of the open road. But when the road turns dangerous and an accident happens, the pain and confusion can be overwhelming. If you're injured in a motorcycle accident, you need someone who understands. At Kaufman Townsley, we're your St. Louis neighbors. We live here, work here, and we know how important your recovery is. We'll fight for you so you can focus on healing. Kaufman Townsley, real people, real results. Call 314-500-5000.
Hey guys, it's Mark Reardon. If you're struggling with low energy, performance issues, or weight gain, Game Day Men's Health has got you covered with testosterone therapy, ED treatments, and more in all of a relaxed man cave environment. At Game Day, you'll get a free testosterone test and consultation, all in just 1 hour. Game Day is the premier men's health clinic with locations in Chesterfield, O'Fallon, Missouri, and Glen Carbon, Illinois. Visit GameDayMen'sHealth.com. That's GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Get back in the game with Game Day Men's Health.
Protect your liver and give it the support that it deserves by making Active Liver from New Nordic part of your daily wellness routine. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
The Mark Reardon Show.
Wednesday afternoon, he just scored a big victory at the Supreme Court last week on the transgender issue. Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey, live in studio at 3:30.
The Mark Reardon Show, weekdays from 3 to 6. Smashing his guitar at the end of every segment. Marc Cox.
What's happening?
Go, you know the thing.
What the hell is going on?
In other news.
What I'm about to tell you does not apply to me in any way, shape, or form.
Uh-huh.
Now, if my wife is listening, she's going to spit coffee out of her nose when I read this. Americans spend 49 hours a year on their phones on the toilet.
Sounds about right.
That does sound right.
49 hours.
But on average, but here's the kicker. Only 25% of them wipe their phones down afterwards, setting the stage for a hygiene hazard, according to one study.
Okay, but like who wipes their phone down like that?
I don't know. Ethan, you got to tell me. I don't know if this is a guy thing or not. Has your wife ever accused you of spending too long in the bathroom?
No.
Mine has. Why does it take you so? I'm like, that's my business. You don't need to be in my business.
Guys' social hour.
It's not. But if you are in there and you've got your phone with you, you're going to scroll through it. Now, here's the thing. Gen Z leads the pack, according to this study, at 54 hours a year, with 66% scrolling social media, 40% streaming videos, 37% responding to messages, and even 2% taking video calls from the bathroom.
That's weird.
I know.
Remember when people used to just read the back of like a shampoo bottle, and now it's like,
yeah.
Won't your legs go numb
phone.
sitting there for that long?
Yeah, men, don't your legs go numb sitting there that long? I don't get it.
No comment.
All right, I don't have a pet, but I know Mark, Sue, Ethan, all of you guys have dogs you love very much. I've had dogs growing up. I love them. Well, there's this TikTok trend called Soulmated So Hard, and it's basically just trying to draw attention to how these pets become really our family. They're the most trusted, treasured companions, they say. So when they die, obviously you're never quite the same. And so this Soulmated So Hard trend has been popping up on TikTok, where people are posting these video tributes, and they're making them very elaborate. But anyway, it's like this thing where you have to, make this formal video to make sure that you pay tribute to that pet. I guess it's not enough just to post one single picture anymore. You need to make the video tribute. So just a heads up.
I was always interested in the people that had their dearly departed pets stuffed.
Oh, that's weird.
That is weird.
I've been to a house
take it to a
where
taxidermist,
it
and then
looked
you can
like
always
that.
have it there.
I remember doing a story. I think it was Channel 4, maybe. I don't know. And it was clearly a stuffed dog, very real looking. So I think it was the dog.
The dog
in like a basket. And I'm thinking, this is just weird.
In a basket?
Like almost as if it was like the dog's bed.
I gotcha.
It's very
No,
odd.
thank you.
I have told my wife she needs to stuff me when I die and put me on the couch. So.
Do you have, I was going to say, do you have like a pose you want to be
I just
in?
wanted to sit on the couch. That way, if she's dating somebody else, then I'm just sitting there looking.
Your finger pointed.
That's sick.
Oh my god.
That's sick. All right.
Thank you.
So here's a fun story, and one that was a big surprise. So a Texas woman is celebrating because a professional diver recovered her diamond wedding ring at the bottom of a lake in Texas. It's called Possum Kingdom Lake. Here's the thing. She lost it 100 years ago. Jacqueline Page says she was visiting the sandy beach with her son's baseball team when she noticed the ring, which dates back to 1910, had slipped off her finger. So she didn't lose it 100 years ago, but the ring dates back to 1910.
Okay, good. I was worried about that.
And then a professional diver found the ring, believe it or not, after having to call off the dive initially because of bad weather, was able to go to the bottom of the lake and find the ring.
Needle in a haystack.
Isn't that amazing?
That is impressive.
Yeah.
Sue, I think you can probably relate to this. We've all been worried about plastics, and I think a lot of people have been trying to switch to bottles. Like I know some people don't even use plastic baby bottles anymore. They use the glass ones, which scares me if you drop it on accident. But anyway, if you're worried about ingesting these microplastics and maybe you did switch to glass bottles, they're saying you should check the type of cap that they have, because some new study revealed that those glass containers often have more microplastics in them than the others, and they think that the caps are the reason why. They conducted this research to investigate the level of microplastic contamination in water, soft drinks, beer, and wine, and they found that the glass bottles were somehow, which just makes no sense to me, were the most contaminated with these microplastics.
Yuck.
Help my brain understand that.
Yeah, because you think of them being rinsed and clean and all.
Right.
Like, what about beer bottles? Of course, they have metal caps on. We won't have to worry about that, right?
But it's a tiny little cap compared to an entire plastic bottle. Right.
Hadn't thought about that.
I don't understand that.
All right, so we've seen the self-driving cars. There is a motorcycle company, Kawasaki. I know you've heard of them. Who they're coming out with a 4-legged all-terrain vehicle that functions like a horse. Like it can almost walk. I'm trying to envision it because they have a video of it here, but I'm not sure how you would ride it. I see somebody on it. It walks like a horse, except I assume it has an engine in it. It's hydrogen fueled, so that's water. You just pour water in it, right?
Yeah,
I don't know.
the advantage of
I
this?
don't know.
Why wouldn't
Why
you
is
just ride
this
a horse?
necessary?
I don't know why you wouldn't just ride a horse.
That's weird. Hey, a real
Save a
quick one.
cowboy.
There was a study that came out that found that Illinois and Missouri are two of the hardest state names to pronounce. Illinois ranked as the 4th hardest to pronounce state. Missouri as the 8th hardest to pronounce state.
Why?
How?
Because some people mispronounce it Missouri.
But I guess Illinois.
No.
Who doesn't know Illinois or Missouri? It's
What's
not
the
Missouri.
number one? Do you know?
I don't know the number one.
I'm guessing it's
I'll have to
Massachusetts.
look that
Probably
up.
Massachusetts. Yeah, but if I had to guess, it's probably it. All right.
Arkansas. Sorry.
Stick around. We're going to take Pete Hegseth's news conference
Don't
live
get
at the
lulled
top
into
of the hour.
believing the IRS is getting soft. It's just the opposite. Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. We are being told by IRS collection officers that their higher-ups are demanding that they get more aggressive than ever. So don't ignore them any longer. Level up. If you have unfiled returns, unpaid taxes, levies, or liens, call the Lance Story Law Firm today and let us get between you and the IRS. We'll protect your rights, including your right to appeal or even your right to take the IRS to tax court. Remember, IRS problems are legal problems, and they need to be handled by an expert attorney team who's done it for decades. So call the Lance Story Law Firm today. We're local. Our office is right here in St. Louis, or visit Lance, DRURY, law.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm, the Lance Story Law Firm, 314-260-6120.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
The smartest way to do your homework is Ackerman Lumber.
Warm weather means homework for homeowners. And for 80 years, Ackerman Lumber has been the trusted name for home improvement. If your homework means a new deck, turn to the deck experts at Ackerman Lumber. Browse the largest inventory of decking materials and accessories in Missouri. Talk with our experts about treated lumber, cedar, TimberTech, Trex, Envision, Decorators, and Duralife to find the perfect deck for you. Choose from endless railings, balusters, and LED deck lighting options. Ackerman Lumber has been serving homeowners and pros for 80 years, and they will not be undersold on in-stock decking materials guaranteed. Whether you DIY with their expert advice or need a trusted contractor, Ackerman has you covered. They are now an authorized steel dealer and stock a huge selection of grills. So celebrate summer with a new Big Green Egg, pellet grills, Weber gas, or charcoal grill, and all the accessories you need for the perfect backyard setup. Visit Hackman Lumber's showrooms in St. Charles, Pacific, and Troy, Missouri, or HackmanSTL.com.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
The U.S. achieved nothing in Iran.
I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what Iran's supreme leader claims. As the ceasefire with Israel remains in place, going on state TV after posting on social media.
Despite the killing of top generals and scientists, the reported destruction of large amounts of military hardware, and what President Donald Trump claims was the obliteration of Iran's nuclear program, the Islamic Republic's supreme leader has congratulated the Iranian people on victory over Israel, and he claims delivering a hard slap to the face of America. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei says the U.S. only entered the war to stop Israel being completely destroyed.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. In a few minutes, we'll get a much different assessment of the U.S. airstrike that hit Iran's nuclear facilities feared to be making weapons from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth at a Pentagon briefing.
CIA Director John Ratcliffe stating this, quote, CIA can confirm that a body of credible evidence indicates Iran's nuclear program has been severely damaged by the recent targeted strikes. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard adding, if the Iranians chose to rebuild, they would have to rebuild all three facilities entirely, which would likely take years to do.
Fox's Alexandria Hoff at the White House. That's after an initial Pentagon assessment suggesting that there was only perhaps limited damage in Iran, and that was leaked to the media, prompting the White House to say it'll only give limited information and briefings on the airstrikes to the Senate today and House tomorrow. Kilmar Abrego Garcia remains jailed, even though a federal judge in Tennessee wants to release him while the alleged gang member awaits trial. But she's concerned immigration agents could take him into custody and try to deport him again.
Garcia was mistakenly deported to El Salvador earlier this year, despite a judge's decision in 2019 protecting him from deportation over fears of gang persecution. When he was returned from El Salvador, he was charged with human trafficking.
That's Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. Prosecutors will start closing arguments today at Sean Diddy Combs' sex trafficking trial in federal court in New York. America's listening to Fox News.
The doctor's office that accidentally mixed up your files has your social security number. The power company that mistakenly cut your service has your payment info. And the hotel that lost your reservation has your passport number. You need LifeLock because your personal info is in endless places that can expose you to identity thieves. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Save up to 40% with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens, and it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
Good morning. I'm Kim St. Ange for 97.1 FM Talk. 7:03 right now, already 80 degrees. As promised, Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey has filed a petition to remove St. Louis Sheriff Alfred Montgomery from his job. Bailey accuses Montgomery of financial mismanagement and abuse of authority since he first took office in January. A spokesperson for the sheriff says he remains fully committed to the duties of his elected office and has no plans to resign. The Animal Protective Association shelter in Brentwood says it is bursting at the seams with pets and needs help. So far this month, here in June, the shelter saw a 72% increase in rescues brought in. For that reason, the APA is running an adoption special until July 4th. All pets are $25. They're microchipped and come with a leash and a bag of food to get you started. New food truck park is set to open in St. Charles. The area, which will be called Bench Racers, will open for a few events in October and then permanently on weekends next spring.
All right, we got some breaking news right now. We're going to go live to the Pentagon where Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth just started his news conference.
Game-changing and historic. A shift in burden sharing to European responsibility in NATO that most would have said was impossible at the beginning of his term. But he said NATO needs to pay up. They started in the first term, and here in his second term, we've accelerated that. 32 NATO countries committed to spending 5% of their GDP on defense, on actually investing in the NATO alliance. So I hope with all the ink spilled, all of your outlets find the time to properly recognize this historic change in continental security. That other presidents tried to do, other presidents talked about. President Trump accomplished it. It's a huge deal. You see, we're here this morning because in hunting for scandals all the time, in trying to find wedges and spin stories, this press corps and the press corps miss historic moments. You miss historic moments like 5% at NATO, which when you hear, I was in the closed door briefing. I wish there could have been cameras in there. When you heard the prime ministers and presidents of other countries, to a man and to a woman, looking at President Trump and saying, this never could have happened. Never would have happened. It seemed impossible 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 8 years ago. But here we are because of your leadership. If you ask them the question, I bet they'd say the same thing. But searching for scandals, you miss historic moments like recruiting at the Pentagon. Historic levels in the Army, the Air Force, and the Navy. Yeah, maybe there'll be a little mention here or there, but because it was under President Trump's leadership, because Americans are responding to him as commander-in-chief, the press corps doesn't want to write about it. Or bring us to the topic of the moment, the highly successful strikes in Iran. Let me read the bottom line here. President Trump directed the most complex and secretive military operation in history. And it was a resounding success, resulting in a ceasefire agreement and the end of the 12-day war. There's been a lot of discussion about what happened and what didn't happen. Step back for a second. Because of decisive military action, President Trump created the conditions to end the war, decimating, choose your word, obliterating, destroying Iran's nuclear capabilities. I want to read some of the assessments that have been provided, because whether it's fake news, CNN, MSNBC, or the New York Times, there's been fawning coverage of a preliminary assessment. I've had a chance to read it. Every outlet has breathlessly reported on a preliminary assessment from DIA. I'm looking at it right now. Again, it was preliminary, a day and a half after the actual strike, when it admits itself in writing that it requires weeks to accumulate the necessary data to make such an assessment. It's preliminary. It points out that it's not been coordinated with the intelligence community at all. There's low confidence in this particular report. It says in the report there are gaps in the information. It says in the report multiple linchpin assumptions are what this assessment, a linchpin assumption, you know what that is? That means your entire premise is predicated on a linchpin. If you're wrong, everything else is wrong. And yet, and still, this report acknowledges it's likely severe damage. Again, this is preliminary, but leaked because someone had an agenda to try to muddy the waters and make it look like this historic strike wasn't successful. I'm going to get to the chairman in a moment because he's going to lay out the particulars for you based on his professional military experience. But here's what other folks are saying. The DIA that put that report out says this is a preliminary low confidence report and will continue to be refined as additional intelligence becomes available. How about the Israeli Atomic Energy Commission? The devastating U.S. strikes on Fordow destroyed the site's critical infrastructure and rendered the enrichment facility inoperable. Have any of these quotes made their way into the New York Times or the Washington Post, MSNBC, CNN? Any of these quotes? How about this one? This is a new one from the UN, the United Nations. No friend of the United States, or certainly Israel often. Here's the head of the UN Atomic Energy Agency this morning, Rafael Grossi. U.S. and Israeli strikes caused enormous damage to Iran's nuclear sites. Don't take my word for it. How about the IDF's chief of staff? I can say here that the assessment is that we significantly damaged the nuclear program, setting it back by years. I repeat, years. The Iranian foreign minister, the spokesman, our nuclear installations have been badly damaged, that's for sure. I'm sure that's an understatement. John Ratcliffe, the director of the CIA, putting out a statement just last night. CIA can confirm that a body of credible intelligence indicates Iran's nuclear program has been severely damaged by recent targeted strikes. This includes new intelligence from a historically reliable, very different than preliminary assessment with low confidence. He's saying historically reliable and accurate source and method that several key Iranian nuclear facilities were destroyed and would have to be rebuilt over the course of years. CIA continues to collect additional reliably sourced information to keep appropriate decision makers fully informed. How about DNI Tulsi Gabbard yesterday? She writes, and I quote, "New intelligence confirms what POTUS has stated numerous times. Iran's nuclear facilities have been destroyed." Institute for Science and International Security President David Albright, overall, Israel and U.S. attacks have effectively destroyed Iran's centrifuge enrichment program. Time and time again, I can go down the list. Those that understand, those that see, those that do proper assessments recognize that what the United States military did was historic. And again, before I pass it to the chairman, because you, and I mean specifically you, the press, specifically you, the press corps, because you cheer against Trump so hard, it's like in your DNA and in your blood to cheer against Trump, because you want him not to be successful so bad, you have to cheer against the efficacy of these strikes. You have to hope maybe they weren't effective. Maybe the way the Trump administration has represented them isn't true. So let's take half-truths, spun information, leaked information, and then spin it in every way we can to try to cause doubt and manipulate the public mind over whether or not our brave pilots were successful. How many stories have been written about how hard it is to, I don't know, fly a plane for 36 hours? Has MSNBC done that story? Has Fox? Have we done the story how hard that is? Have we done it 2 or 3 times so that American people understand? How about how difficult it is to shoot a drone from an F-15 or 16 or F-22 or F-35? Or what it's like to man a Patriot battery? Or how hard it is to refuel midair? Giving the American people an understanding of how complex and sophisticated this mission really was. There are so many aspects of what our brave men and women did that because of the hatred of this press corps are undermined because your people are trying to leak and spin that it wasn't successful. It's irresponsible. And folks in this room are privy to that information because of the proximity here in the Pentagon. It's an important responsibility. And time again, classified information is leaked or peddled for political purposes to try to make the president look bad. And what's really happening is you're undermining the success of incredible B-2 pilots and incredible F-35 pilots and incredible refuelers and incredible air defenders who accomplished their mission, set back a nuclear program in ways that other presidents would have dreamed. How about we celebrate that? How about we talk about how special America is, that only we have these capabilities? I think it's too much to ask, unfortunately, for the fake news. So we're used to that. But we also have an opportunity to stand at the podium and read the truth of what's really happening. And the reality is you want to call it destroyed, you want to call it defeated, you want to call it obliterated, choose your word. This was an historically successful attack, and we should celebrate it as Americans. And it gives us a chance to have peace, chance to have a deal, and an opportunity to prevent a nuclear Iran, which is something President Trump talked about for 20 years, and no other presidents had the courage to actually do. So with that, I want to hand it over to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. They've done technical analysis on this, not just on the strike, but also on our Patriot defenders on Al Udeid. And Mr. Chairman, I'll hand it over to you.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and good morning, and all of you. Thank you for being here. As a follow-up to my comments on Sunday's press conference, I wanted to give you a few updates this morning on something I'm honored to do as a chairman, and that's a chance to get to talk about some of our service members and the incredible things that they do on behalf of our nation. And I apologize ahead of time for the length and the detail. Today, I'm going to brief you on a couple things. First, I'm going to talk about our air defenders at Al Udeid in Qatar and their actions on Monday. Then I'm going to walk you through a little bit about the academics that went into the attack against Fordo, the massive ordnance penetrator weapon, and we're going to show a video that highlights the effects that weapon has. Of course, nobody was down inside the target, so we don't have video from the target. First, on Monday, as the president has stated, on Monday morning, we began to receive indications and warnings that Iran intended to attack U.S. bases in the region. That morning, building on the work that CENTCOM Commander Eric Kurilla had done, and on the orders of the president, Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar and around the region, we assumed a minimum force posture. Most folks had moved off the base to extend the security perimeter out away from what we assessed might be a target zone, except for a very few Army soldiers at Al Udeid. At that point, only 2 Patriot batteries remained on base, roughly 44 American soldiers responsible for defending the entire base, to include CENTCOM's forward headquarters in the Middle East, an entire air base, and all the U.S. forces there. The oldest soldier was a 28-year-old captain. The youngest was a 21-year-old private who'd been in the military for less than 2 years.
That is General Dan Kane. They call him Raisin Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, who has joined Pete Hegseth in this news conference. And obviously, they are defending the strikes on Iran and the damage done there, and blasting the media for the leaks that they've treated as real news when it didn't tell the whole story. I think you picked that up from Pete Hegseth there pretty clearly. That initial report was very preliminary, and they're about to outline some of the real damage there. As this moves along, and as the secretary gets to some questions from the media, we're going to dip back into this news conference. But right now, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a minute.
97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Hey, we look good right now traffic-wise. In fact, that's North County all the way down through 55. Now, there is some moderate volume along northbound 270, mainly on either side of Doherty Ferry, and then southbound a little slow at 64. But that's it. Other than that, we look good. We look fine on the bridges downtown if you're headed in from Illinois. But it looks like we've got a jam in both directions. Route 3 at Monsanto this morning. That is definitely a slow go. This report is brought to you by me. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk. Do you know if you have saved enough money for retirement? I mean, we know to save, and we do that, and that is great. But at some point, you probably want some guidance just to understand how things work in retirement. How do you know how the system works? When should you take Social Security? Okay, you could figure that out. But how do you know how to reduce your taxes in it and work the system to your advantage? This is why I recommend a one-night, 3-hour adult education class called Retirement Planning 101. So you can kind of get a handle on how things work. And it's taught by a fiduciary advisor from Financial and Tax Architects. They do this for free, but they want you to bring 3 canned goods for St. Louis Crisis Nursery. There are a handful of openings this month and next, but you'd need to register. So call 314-947-2012 and learn some things. 314-947-2012.
The Cards, the Cubs.
Siteman Cancer Center game time 1:15. Play ball! Siteman Cancer Center, national leader in cancer.
The home of the Cardinals. 104.1 FM KMOX.
Hey, Zero Res wants to help you clean your home or business. Big summer savings with 3 rooms cleaned starting at $129 and $75 off your air duct cleaning. Visit ZeroResSCL.com and ask for the Mark Reardon or 97.1 FM Talk special. If you need to sell your home to buy a new home, it's never been more important to have an experienced negotiator you can trust. You need my friends Mark and Neil Gelman of eXp Realty on your side, fighting for every dollar for you. 314-336-1991. Check out thegelmanteam.com.
Always giving you more. The Marc Cox Morning Show. Catch anything you missed today by getting the show podcast at 971talk.com.
Run away. It's your heart that you betray. Feeding on your hungry eyes. I bet you're
GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator weapon and share a little bit about the planners who did this and their work on the weapon. First, let me set the stage for you.
So this is General Dan Kane, Raisin Kane here, Joint Chiefs Chairman, who's explaining to the media in this news conference at the Department of Defense right now, the Pentagon, I should say, exactly how these bunker busters work. And I imagine he's about to lay out the damage that they now believe these bombs did after a few days of being able to try to gather some information. Because without being on the ground, I think it would be an incredibly difficult thing to estimate what the amount of damage was. You can't trust the Iranians to tell you what they think's happening there, and it's obvious they're not going to let Americans on the ground to investigate it. But at the end of the day, they dropped these massive bombs on these locations, and General Kane is trying to describe how that worked and the planning that went into it. Let's dip back into this for a minute, Ethan.
Breathed this single target, Fordow, a critical element of Iran's covert nuclear weapons program. He studied the geology. He watched the Iranians dig it out. He watched the construction, the weather, the discard material, the geology, the construction materials, where the materials came from. He looked at the vent shaft, the exhaust shaft, the electrical systems, the environmental control systems, every nook, every crater, every piece of equipment going in and every piece of equipment going out. They literally dreamed about this target at night when they slept. They thought about it driving back and forth to work, and they knew from the very first days what this was for. You do not build a multi-layered underground bunker complex with centrifuges and other equipment in a mountain for any peaceful purpose. They weren't able to discuss this with their family, their wives, their kids, their friends, but they just kept grinding it out. And along the way, they realized we did not have a weapon that could adequately strike and kill this target. So they began a journey to work with industry and other tacticians to develop the GBU-57. They tested it over and over again, tried different options, tried more after that. They accomplished hundreds of test shots and dropped many full-scale weapons against extremely realistic targets for a single purpose: kill this target at the time and place of our nation's choosing. And then on a day in June of 2025, more than 15 years after they started their life's work, the phone rang and the President of the United States ordered the B-2 force that you've supported to go strike and kill this target. Yesterday, I had the incredible honor and privilege of spending time with these two Defense Threat Reduction Agency officers who've given so much. One of them said, quote, "I can't even get my head around this. My heart is so filled with the pride of being a part of this team. I am so honored to be a part of this." To you both, thank you, and thank you to your families. Operation Midnight Hammer was the culmination of those 15 years of incredible work. The air crews, the tanker crews, the weapons crews that built the weapons, the load crews that loaded it. Before I run through this video today, I want to talk a little bit about weaponeering and what goes into an attack. Weaponeering is the science of evaluating a target. I mentioned all of those factors before that these two DTRA officers had thought about. Ultimately, weaponeering is determining the right weapon and fuse combination to achieve the desired effects and maximum destruction against a target. In the case of Fordow, the DTRA team understood with a high degree of confidence the elements of the target required to kill its functions, and the weapons were designed, planned, and delivered to ensure that they achieve the effects in the mission space. By the way, in the beginning of its development, we had so many PhDs working on the MOP program, doing modeling and simulation, that we were quietly and in a secret way the biggest users of supercomputer hours within the United States of America. So let me talk about the graphic a little bit. And the GBU-57, which all of you I know is a 30,000 pound weapon, dropped only by the B-2. It's comprised of steel, explosive, and a fuse, programmed bespokely, each weapon to achieve a particular effect inside the target. Each weapon had a unique desired impact angle, arrival, final heading, and a fuse setting. The fuse is effectively what tells the bomb when to function. A longer delay in a fuse, the deeper the weapon will penetrate and drive into the target. So on Fordo, in June of 2008, you can see these three holes. Depicted here is the main exhaust shaft with two additional ventilation shafts on either side. The United States decided to strike these two ventilation shafts, as seen here on the main graphic, as the primary point of entry into the mission space. In the days preceding the attack against Fordo, the Iranians attempted to cover the shafts with concrete to try to prevent an attack. I won't share the specific dimensions of the concrete cap, but you should know that we know what the dimensions of those concrete caps were. The planners had to account for this. They accounted for everything. The cap was forcibly removed by the first weapon, and the main shaft was uncovered. Weapons 2, 3, 4, 5 were tasked to enter the main shaft, move down into the complex at greater than 1,000 feet per second, and explode in the mission space. Weapon number 6 was designed on each side, so there were 6 on each side. Weapons number 6 was designed as a flex weapon to allow us to cover if one of the preceding jets or one of the preceding weapons did not work. The video I'm about to show you is a culmination of over 15 years of development and testing. As I said, hundreds of test shots on various models. This is one weapon. So if you take a view of this as 5 additionals, you'll get a sense of all
right, General Dan Raisin Kane there briefing the media on what happened here. I mean, pretty amazing for him to describe this massive ordnance penetrator, this MOP. The many different missiles they found that they fired, the fact that they were aiming at ventilation shafts. It was just like Maverick. It was like that the movie Maverick, right? They knew exactly where they needed them to go. They fired many of them so that they kept getting deeper and deeper into that mountain. And it sounds like they have a high degree of confidence that they've done amazing amount of destruction here to Iran's nuclear capability. And that's kind of what they're describing. We'll keep an ear on this and keep you up to date as we move along here if there's any more information. And if they go back to taking some questions from the media with the Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, I promise you we will cut back in and let you know the very latest as this news conference continues from the Pentagon. We're going to be back in just a minute. Stay tuned.
Catch anything you missed today by getting the show podcast at 971talk.com. The Marc Cox Morning Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
I'm fixing to tell you something that the insurance industry does not want you to ever hear. Bullies often delay and deny. I see them sitting on premiums paid and making money and dragging it out for as long as they can. Many times, we're forced to take them to court. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Their high-paid lobbyists are on a mission to make sure that at trial, jurors are not allowed to learn that the at-fault party has insurance, and in some cases, lots of it. I can think of no case in all my years where there was no insurance for the at-fault party. So let's fight back. It's all these bullies understand. Tell everybody you know the truth. If you've been injured in a car crash or hurt at a store or business, visit forthepeople.com. We're here 24/7. It's that easy. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
All right, I want to talk to you for a minute about dental work. And if you don't have a dentist, I know I've got a guy. And if you do have a dentist, I might have a better guy. How about that? He's Dr. Michael White, great guy who practices common sense dentistry. He's been at this for a long time, and he's an experienced dentist who oftentimes might solve your problems a lot faster than somebody who's just graduated from dental school. He's been around, and he's been helping my family out for about 7 or 8 years now. We look forward to going down and seeing Dr. Michael White. He's got a fantastic staff. He's focused on as much pain-free dentistry as humanly possible. So he wants to make it the easiest dental visit ever. And I would agree with that. Take it from me. My daughter's had braces down there. I've had fillings and caps, and they're just fantastic. It's Sunset Hills Dentist is the website. Call them. Tell them you heard it from Marc Cox. 314-270-8552.
Good morning. I'm Kim St. Ange for 97.1 FM Talk. Sunny, 80 degrees, so already warm now at 7:30. Well, St. Peter's is the latest city to deal with a road buckling because of all this extreme heat. This happened Wednesday on the northbound lane there of West Sunny Hill Boulevard near Fairview Glen Drive. Just for some perspective, that's not too far from Woodland State Park. City officials there in St. Peter's hope to reopen that road by doing those repairs by Monday. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker is expected to announce today that he'll be running for a third term in 2026. Multiple sources close to Pritzker's campaign say he'll make that announcement at in-person events both in Chicago and Springfield. Now, keep this in mind. Unlike Missouri, Illinois has no term limits on its constitutional offices. In sports, unfortunately, the Cards were shut out last night by the Cubs. Final score of that game, 8-0. They'll be wrapping up the series with the day game today, starting at 1:15. City lost to Orlando City. Final score 4-2. Second round of the NBA draft coming up tonight. Cooper Flagg from Duke, first pick to the Dallas Mavericks. I'm Kim St. Ange for 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Crews are working with an accident southbound 270 at Ladue Road. They've got the two right lanes blocked and traffic jams back through Page. Now, westbound 64, there is a slowdown just past 94. We've got southbound 61, a little slow this morning, headed for 64. And northbound 55, slowing down north of Revis Barracks into the construction zone. And northbound 270, slow pockets. It's moderate volume between Gravois and Manchester. On the Illinois side, we're fine on the Poplar Street Bridge. 64, a little bit slow at 70. And Route 3 is slowing in both directions at Monsanto Avenue. So be careful through there. This report brought to you by New Perspective Senior Living. New Perspective Weldon Spring is redefining senior living with modern apartments, delicious meals, activities, entertainment, and a state-of-the-art AI fall detection system. Visit npseniorliving.com to schedule a tour today. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Hey, let's talk for a moment about your basement and whether or not you have water issues. If you're a homeowner, it's been an issue. In my first house, I had a little bit of a problem with that, had to get it waterproofed. And once it's done, it's a relief. You don't have to deal with it anymore. I want to have you call my friend Matt Hayes at Home Shield Foundation Repairs. He's a foundation specialist. He's a down-to-earth guy. He runs the company. He's the one that will be coming to your home to take a look at your basement. And trust me when I tell you, he's a great guy, and you're going to enjoy working with him. He's not there to beat you up. He's not there to be the chief sales guy. He is the owner. He's a foundation expert. He can help you with recommendations on sump pumps. Maybe you need one installed. Maybe you've already got one that's just not up to the job. He can do structural issues like bowing walls. He can fix that with a lifetime warranty. He can seal the cracks that are in your foundation that are letting a little bit of water through, and you get those sealed up. You don't have to worry about it. When he leaves you with a lifetime warranty on all of his craftsmanship. So don't put up with a wet basement anymore. Quit fretting over it. Call my friend Matt Hayes at Home Shield Foundation Repairs. Great video right there on their website to see what they do. They also do polyjacking. Ask them about that. Go to homeshieldfoundationrepairs.com.
Celebrate Independence Day with a free concert by the U.S. Air Force Band of Mid-America. July 2nd, 7 p.m. at Logan University in Chesterfield, showcasing patriotic music and more. Get free tickets at afbandtix.org. That's afbandtix.org.
Can help you protect your home, auto, boat, motorcycle, ATV, and RV, and more. And if something wasn't mentioned that you had in mind, find out if it can be covered at Progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE, because it probably can be.
You're listening to the Marc Cox Morning Show. And now, more sweet intro music.
All right. So Pete Hegseth and General Kane have held a news conference here this morning at the Pentagon. They are now taking questions from the media, and we want to carry this live for you right now.
Just the little portion that makes it seem like maybe the strike wasn't effective. Then you start a news cycle, whether it's the Washington Post or Fox News or CNN or MSNBC. You start a news cycle that starts to call into question the ethics. No, that's why. So you bring the chairman here who's not involved in politics. He doesn't do politics. That's my lane to understand and translate and talk about those types of things. So I can use the word obliterated. He could use defeat, destroyed, assess, all of those things. But ultimately, we're here to clarify what these weapons are capable of, which anyone with, two eyes, some ears, and a brain can recognize that kind of firepower with that specificity at that location and others is going to have a devastating effect. So we all recognize there will be days and weeks ahead. That's why yesterday I said, if you want to know what's going on at Fordo, you better go there and get a big shovel, because no one's under there right now. No one's under there able to assess, and everyone's using reflections of what they see. And that's why the Israelis, the Iranians, the IAEA, the UN, to a man and to a woman who recognize the capability of this weapon system are acknowledging how destructive it's been. So that's what's changed.
Just 3 or 4 days later. What
See, this is a point. This is how difficult it is to actually manage. You just watched a video of what this weapon is capable of. That's where we find our confidence, is in the skill of men and women and the capability of the systems they employed, and the recognition so far in the reflections that it was a highly successful mission.
Sure, I think you could. I'd say go out. The IC should be able to help you answer that question. They look at a variety, as the secretary has alluded to. We look at a variety of things. I don't do that. They do. All different sources of intel, which I'd refer you to them to get clarity on the end.
So again, I go back to the IC, whether it's Director Radcliffe or ODNI Gabbard. I read the statements at the beginning. They're the ones aggregating the intelligence, and they're saying nuclear facilities were destroyed and would have to be rebuilt over a number of years. Facilities were destroyed. What do we got right here?
Sir, you cited a body of credible intelligence to suggest the damage at Fordo and other places. What is that referring to, and when can we see it?
I was reading from the CIA director's statement, which came out last night. CIA, again, they do the BDA, they do the assessment. CIA can confirm that a body of credible intelligence indicates, it also goes on to say, new intelligence from historically reliable and accurate sources and methods. Now, you can imagine.
What is that?
You can imagine the CIA director is going to be very careful about how he articulates things of that sensitivity. Classified, secret, top secret, compartmentalized. He's going to know things that you're not going to know, that the press isn't going to know. And he's reflecting that the sources he's seeing are highly credible. They've given credible intelligence. They or those processes have given credible intelligence in the past. And that's what he's basing it on.
You think we need to see that?
Do you have a top secret clearance, sir?
Eventually, the American public wants to see it.
Yes. Yeah,
you. I wanted to ask briefly just.
No, not you. Checkered shirt.
Oh, so Mike Glenn with the Washington Times.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, sir. Anybody who's ever read a Battalion S2 report after a fight knows that it's usually, the initial report is usually wrong, sometimes grossly so. Has what happened in this incident caused you all to sort of rethink the intelligence process or the dissemination, or do you think it's just a matter, if the process itself doesn't require any more adjustment?
Well, I can tell you what the chairman told me in the Situation Room and reminded us all, which is alongside what you just said, sir, is that the first reports are almost always wrong. They're almost always incomplete, right? You anything, whether it's a squad level operation or a strategic level operation, the initial reflections you get are coming at you at a high rate of speed from a lot of different sources. So your job is to step back and assess them. And that's why we're urging caution about premising entire stories on biased leaks to biased publications trying to make something look bad. How about we take a beat, recognize first the success of our warriors, hold them up, tell their stories, celebrate that, wave an American flag, be proud of what we accomplished. And in the meantime, I can assure you, the chairman and his staff, the intelligence community, our staff and others are doing all the assessments necessary to make sure that mission was indeed successful. Yes, right there.
Sir, thank you, Mr. Secretary. Iran has recognized that their nuclear program was indeed severely damaged, but they also said that the U.S. strikes only strengthened their ability and their determination to complete their nuclear program. How do you respond to that, sir? Is that a provocation from Iran?
Well, I would say Iran's going to have to say a lot of things right now in order to bolster their image, especially internally. You know, in the media, there's a lot of things they'll say for domestic consumption. But we're watching very closely what they do. Again, that's the intel community. Our job as the chairman, the chairman laid it out so beautifully. Our job is to be prepared. And how proud are you? How proud am I? I didn't know the full story of those men and women 15 years ago who've been pointing at that target. That makes me proud to be an American. That's an awesome story. I hope we can tell more aspects of that in an unclassified way in the future. That's a great thing to know. Our job is to be prepared when the commander-in-chief calls based on those assessments. So, of course, our IC, the Intelligence Committee, will keep watching what Iran does and pay attention to that. But the president has created the contours, the opportunity for a deal, for peace, in something that the world said was intractable, that wasn't possible. And we got that peace, that ceasefire, that option because of strength, because of his willingness to use American military might that no one else on the planet can do with the kind of planners and operators that the chairman just laid out. Yes, sir. Right there. Yep.
Yes, sir. Just a quick question. There's public imagery available saying that highly enriched uranium was moved out of Fordo before the strikes. Is that accurate? Have you seen that? And Mr. Chairman, a question for you. Have you been pressured to change your assessment or give a more rosy intelligence assessment to us by any political factors, whether it's the president or the secretary? And if you were, would you do that?
Yeah, well, that one's easy. No, no, I have not. And no, I would not. My job as the chairman is to offer a range of options to the president and the National Command Authority to deliver the risks associated with each of those, and then take the orders of the National Command Authority and go execute them. I've never been pressured by the president or the secretary to do anything other than tell them exactly what I'm thinking. And that's exactly what I've done.
And the highly enriched uranium?
There's nothing that I've seen that suggests that we didn't hit exactly what we wanted to hit in those locations.
That's not the question, though. It's about highly enriched uranium. Do you have certainty that all the highly enriched uranium was inside the Fordo mountain, or some of it, because there were satellite photos that showed more than a dozen trucks there 2 days in advance? Are you certain none of that highly enriched uranium was moved?
Of course, we're watching every single aspect. But Jennifer, you've been about the worst, the one who misrepresents the most intentionally. What the president says. I'm familiar.
About the ventilation shafts on Saturday night. And in fact, I was the first to describe the B-2 bombers, the refueling, the entire mission with great accuracy. So I take issue with that.
I appreciate you acknowledging that this was the first the most successful mission based on operational security that this department has done since you've been here. And I appreciate that. So we're looking at all aspects of intelligence and making sure we have a sense of what was where.
So why not acknowledge the female pilots that also participated in this mission? The early messages that you sent out only congratulated the boys.
So when I say something like our boys and bombers, see, this is the kind of thing the press does, right? Of course, the chairman mentioned a female bomber pilot. That's fantastic. She's fantastic. She's a hero. I want more female bomber pilots. I hope the men and women of our country sign up to do such brave and audacious things. But when you spin it as, because I say our boys and bombers as a common phrase, I'll keep saying things like that, whether they're men or women. Very proud of that female pilot, just like I'm very proud of those male pilots. And I don't care if it's a male or a female in that cockpit, and the American people don't care. But it's the obsession with race and gender in this department that's changed priorities. And we don't do that anymore. We don't play your little games. Yes, right there.
For certain that the uranium was removed from the facility before the B-2 struck.
So I'm not aware of any intelligence that I've reviewed that says things were not where they were supposed to be, moved or otherwise. Yes.
Kelly Meyer with News Nation, and just off the top, want to say we're grateful for the service of these pilots and everybody that serves. I wanted to ask you, the CIA statement said, when possible, they will provide updates and information to the public for transparency. And I believe that's what we're looking for here. Do you commit to share the Defense Intelligence Agency report when it is ready, so the American people can understand more about the intelligence assessment?
Well, actually, the report that was discussed, this preliminary report, was what's called a restrike report. So it comes to us to give us an assessment whether a target would need to be restruck, right? That's the reason why. So it's based on internal feedback loop that we're supposed to have access to. Unfortunately, someone took advantage of that. But whatever is supposed to be made public will be, but whatever has to stay sensitive.
Sir, can I jump in? One of the things that I'm trying to do through this journey that we're on together, of course, transparency, but also the requirement to really protect these capabilities. I guess the time's up. So there's a balance in there, right? We do need to preserve options should the nation and the joint force be tasked to go do something again. So I'm confident we'll find the middle ground, but there are some things that if asked, I want to not.
All right, we're going to dip back out of this now. That was General Dan Raisin Kane there, and Pete Hegseth really schooling the media in some cases and chewing them out for disrespecting the men and women in the military. I love what Pete Hegseth said there about having to, so much focus on race and identity politics and all of this stuff. Just let them enjoy the moment. Lots of questions about, whether what the bomb did, what the bomb they were doing, they were using, what did the initial reports say? What do we know? Nobody's on the ground. He said nobody's on the ground there.
One of the repeated questions was whether Iran had moved the uranium, the enriched uranium, prior to the strike, because they did talk about how Iran had put some sort of like a concrete, I guess, slab or something to that effect over the site, trying to protect it. And this was just days ahead of the attack. So to some degree, it sounds like they almost may have known that something could happen, and were doing this preemptively.
They should have. They should have known.
Well, they didn't know enough the day it happened, because they didn't do anything when they actually bombed it.
They should have known. And regardless, I can tell you one thing. If that uranium was moved, the Mossad knows about it. So we'll figure out. We will figure out where it is.
Hegseth said, though, they have no intelligence at this point that indicates that any uranium had been moved prior to the attack.
Very true. So, all right, they just wrapped up that news conference. We're going to get to a quick break here, and we will continue. We got Shannon Bream on the other side of the top of the hour, so stay tuned for that. We'll be right back.
Find everything Marc Cox at 971talk.com/Cox. Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Good morning. Things are looking a little bit better on southbound 270. There was an earlier accident really close to Ladue Road, and it looks like they have moved that out of the way, but the jam behind it has yet to unwind, and it went north of Page. Now we've got road work on 270, and this looks like it's southbound, really close to Manchester. I guess it's just past Manchester, and they've got the right lane blocked. Northbound 270, moderate volume in pockets, approaching Gravois up through 64. We've got eastbound 70 slowing at 270 this morning, and westbound 64 is slowing, really just past 94. It's a slow go out there. That is by K, on either side of K, mainly due to road work. And northbound 55, slowing north of Rivas, headed into the construction zone. We've got volume on the Illinois side. It's mainly moderate, 64 at the 55-70 split. But we've also got Route 3. They're saying that it's closed northbound, but it's jammed in both directions at Monsanto Avenue. Avoiding that area, probably a good idea. This report brought to you by the U.S. Air Force Band of Mid-America 4th of July concerts. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, so a little bit hot, a little bit dry, what we've experienced here over the past few days. But guess what? My grass is going to be nice and green because I have an irrigation system that is taken care of by my friends at Pro Outdoor. They can install one for you. Don't worry. Don't be jealous. They can put one in your house in about a day on average. Mine that was already there, they've come out, showed me how to use it. They've adjusted all the sprinkler heads, got it started up for me a month or two ago, and they'll do the same thing in the fall when it's time to winterize it and shut it down, because that's what they do. And I'm on their maintenance program, and I love working with Pro Outdoor. Whatever you got going on in your yard, you need drain tiles put in to get the water away from your house. You need outdoor lighting on your home to beautify it and give you that sense of security. I just got a great outdoor lighting package from Pro Outdoor as well. Let them come out and give you a free estimate, and they can show you the before and after pictures. It is pretty amazing. There's a picture of my house up on my Facebook feed. Go take a look at it. Don't be jealous. You can have the same thing done to your house. 636-695-7800. That's 695-7800. Or visit their website and check out everything they have to offer at prooutdoor.com.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
We, without hesitation, recommend that anybody work with ThrottleNet. The experience will be as good as it's been for us, for anybody, because you'll get a true partnership and you'll be able to rest easy that you're going to get the service that you need, while they're also doing all those things that you don't want to have to think about, that you don't want to have to worry about. They're always doing that in the background for you.
Don't wait for your next IT crisis. If your business depends on technology, you need a partner that's got your back. Contact ThrottleNet.com to get a free IT evaluation and see how we can support your IT everything.
Bluetail Medical Group is a pioneer in regenerative orthopedics. As joints break down over time, we lose our mobility and a life without pain. Surgery is not the only option. Dr. Matt Bays, David Crane, and Chris Wolf can use your own body's healing power to regrow soft tissue. No surgery, no long recovery times, and no drug dependence. Patients walk out of the office and resume full activity in a few days. Reclaim your joint health by calling Bluetail Medical Group at 636-778-2900 or visit bluetailmedicalgroup.com.
97.1 FM Talk is proudly supporting the Guns N' Hoses Queen of Hearts raffle, benefiting the St. Louis Backstoppers. Learn more at stlgunsandhoses.com and listen to the Marc Cox Morning Show Fridays at 8:20 for winner announcements. The gloves are off. This is the Marc Cox Morning Show. Follow the show on Facebook, facebook.com/The Marc Cox Show.
Are you certain none of that highly enriched uranium was moved?
Of course, we're watching every single aspect. But Jennifer, you've been about the worst. The one who misrepresents the most intentionally. What the president says. I'm familiar.
About the ventilation shafts on Saturday night. And in fact, I was the first to describe the B-2 bombers, the refueling, the entire mission with great accuracy. So I take issue with that.
I appreciate you acknowledging that this was the first the most successful mission based on operational security that this department has done since you've been here. And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So we're looking at all aspects of intelligence and making sure we have a sense of what's where.
That all happened a short time ago. Pete Hegseth talking to Jennifer Griffin from Fox News, their Pentagon correspondent, saying she's part of the problem too. He's mad at all of them for the way they've reported on this. If you missed it, we've carried for the bigger part of this hour this news conference from the Pentagon dealing with all of this, Kim, and they clearly set out to make a point that they knew exactly what they were doing. They used multiple bombs with each one with a different assignment to penetrate. They knew about the concrete that had been poured over this ventilator shaft. It was almost like, I joked, the movie Maverick, where they had to fly into that little narrow valley, and the first bombs blew the lid off the ventilator shaft, and the next two went down in it and blew up the facility. And I mean, it almost sounds a lot like that. And it seems incredible that if they didn't completely obliterate, which is the word the president used, the nuclear program, they have damaged it so severely that I can't envision how long it would take to restart it.
Right. And Secretary Hegseth really emphasized to the media, which, by the way, he blasted, saying, you guys are basically, it's in your DNA to root against Trump, and therefore you have to root against this mission. You want it to be a failure because then that would reflect poorly on Donald Trump. He says this was a historically successful attack. Every indication we have right now in this preliminary report, and he emphasized, look, this is preliminary. A lot of these preliminary reports, they're called preliminary because there's a lot of work to do, and they often have issues. They have to be corrected later on once they can do a further, deeper analysis. But he said that every indication is that the uranium, the enriched uranium that Iran has, was where it was supposed to be, right there in the nuclear sites that they actually hit. The rumors he says that we're hearing, he didn't call them rumors, but this information that we're hearing about this enriched uranium being moved just days prior, he says there's no intelligence at this point that would suggest that.
Well, I don't blame them for their anger with the media, the leaks, the same people that lied about the Russia hoax, about the Steele dossier. These are the same reporters always trying to somehow diminish the accomplishments because most of them have Trump derangement syndrome. At least their agencies do, and they don't want anything that's going to make President Trump look good. They want it to look bad, and they're frustrated over that. Here's the bottom line. Even if they got out of there with a little bit of enriched uranium, they got no facility to build a bomb in, and most of their top scientists have now assumed room temperature. So that's not going to help them. There's nothing about this that was good for Iran, and if there is a continued danger, I'll guarantee you the Mossad knows where all of that stuff is. So as this continues, if we get any more information out of them this morning, we'll let you know. But that's in a nutshell what they talked about, the evidence that they have of the damage they did in Iran with these massive ordnance penetrator bombs. We're going to get to a quick break. On the other side, we've got Shannon Bream of Fox News Sunday and, of course, Griff Jenkins, and we'll recap some of this for you. We'll be back in just a minute.
Do you ever wonder if you've saved enough money to retire? Well, you can find out how you can make your money go a lot further in retirement in a 3-hour adult education class called Retirement Planning 101. Hey, it's Sue Thomas, and this is a one-night class. It's taught by a fiduciary advisor from Financial and Tax Architects. They have decades of financial planning experience, and they hold these at colleges and libraries throughout St. Louis. You will learn about reducing your taxes, maximizing your Social Security income, paying for health care, all of it. And there's no cost. Just bring 3 canned goods for St. Louis Crisis Nursery. Now, there are a handful of openings for the classes this month and next. Just register by calling 314-947-2012. 314-947-2012. It's the Sue Thomas number. 314-947-2012.
You had a solid retirement dream, sell your home in a few years, bank the equity, downsize, and travel. But with an unpredictable economy and the future feeling uncertain, you're wondering if that equity will still be there when you're ready. What if you could bank that equity right now? With Truehold, you can sell your home for its current value so you can access your equity today. You can bank the cash now and stay in the home you love with an easy standard lease. Truehold even covers property taxes, insurance, and repairs. And since Truehold hands over your equity in cash now, it's yours to do whatever you like. Don't let a shifting economy put your hard-earned equity at risk. Visit Truehold.com and receive their competitive offer on your home in just 48 hours, based on its best current value, not what's coming. Call 1-855-300-9993 or visit Truehold.com. The smarter, faster way to cash out on your home's value without moving. That's Truehold.com.
Attention. Have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers. So don't wait. If you owe $10, $20, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-355-8282. That's 800-355-8282. Again, that's 800-355-8282.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
Iran's nuclear program was hit hard. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
You want to call it destroyed? You want to call it defeated? You want to call it obliterated? Choose your word. This was an historically successful attack, and we should celebrate it as Americans.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth a short time ago also took issue with what he called fake news. Reports of an initial Pentagon assessment suggesting the U.S. strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities over the weekend might have only done limited damage.
There are so many aspects of what our brave men and women did that, because of the hatred of this press corps, are undermined because people are trying to leak and spin that it wasn't successful. It's irresponsible.
Now, that leak has the Trump administration limiting the information it'll give lawmakers in briefings on those airstrikes at the Senate today and the House tomorrow. Many Democrats claim the action was unconstitutional without congressional authorization. Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman General Dan Kane, standing next to Hegseth this morning, said in the attack on the Fordo nuclear site.
The pilots stated, quote, "This was the brightest explosion that I've ever seen. It literally looked like daylight."
Earlier, Iran's supreme leader went on state TV, declaring victory over Israel and the U.S., claiming that the Americans gained no achievement and Iran slapped us in the face. A new vaccine advisory committee met for the first time and plans to reconsider vaccinations given to children. That panel was completely overhauled by Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., whose vaccine skepticism has upset Democrats.
The panel's recommendations influence the official U.S. immunization schedule and determine which vaccines are covered by insurance. Earlier this week, Senate Health Committee Chair Bill Cassidy, a physician, called for a delay in the meeting, saying the group lacked experience.
Fox's Tanya J. Powers. Closing arguments start today at rapper and music producer Sean Diddy Combs' trial.
Combs faces several charges, including racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking, and 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution.
Fox's Chanley Painter. America's listening to Fox News.
Sometimes an identity threat is a ring of professional hackers. And sometimes it's an overworked accountant who forgot to encrypt their connection while sending bank details.
I need a coffee.
And you need LifeLock because your info is in endless places. It only takes one mistake to expose you to identity theft. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
Good morning on this Thursday. I'm Kim St. Ange for 97.1 FM Talk. It's just straight up hot again. Already 80 degrees now at 8:03. Sun is out, though, and it's going to be another scorcher, so just a heads up. Well, as promised, Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey has filed a petition to remove St. Louis Sheriff Alfred Montgomery from his job. Bailey accuses Montgomery of financial mismanagement and abuse of authority since he took office in January. A spokesperson for the sheriff says he remains fully committed to the duties of his elected office and has no plans to resign. The Animal Protective Association shelter in Brentwood says it is bursting at the seams with pets and needs help. So far this month here in June, the shelter has seen a 72% increase in rescues brought in. So for that reason, the APA is running an adoption special that'll go on until July 4th. That's next Friday. As part of that, all pets are $25. That includes fees. They're microchipped. They also come with a leash and a bag of food to get you started. Hey, did you hear about this really cool new food truck park that's set to open soon in St. Charles? This area, which will be called Bench Racers, will open for a few events in October, and then it will open permanently on weekends next spring. That's the plan. The 1-acre site in historic Frenchtown between Main Street and Highway 370, it will actually feature this barbecue and beverage bar that'll be inside a restored gas station. There will also be a stage for live music and some big screen TVs to watch sports. 8:04 is our time, 80 degrees at 97.1 FM Talk. In sports, it wasn't pretty, all right? The Cards shut out last night by the Cubs. Final score 8-0. They'll be wrapping up the series with a day game today. First pitch at Busch Stadium, 1:15. City, unfortunately, lost to Orlando City 4-2 the final. Second round of the NBA draft coming up tonight. As expected, Cooper Flagg from Duke was the first pick, and he went to the Dallas Mavericks. 80 degrees now, just changed over to 8:05. You're listening to 97.1 FM Talk.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Watch out for an accident eastbound 70 at Salisbury. It sounds like it's on the right shoulder, and we do have some volume out there this morning. Southbound 270 is pretty slow, especially from Dorset down through Page, but then moderate volume in pockets from Page really down through Ladue Road. Northbound slow, moderate volume pockets, Gravois up through Ladue Road. We've got eastbound 40 slowing east of Lindbergh through 170. Eastbound 70 slowing on either side of 270. And 55 northbound slowing around Bates in the construction zone. There's some moderate volume on the Poplar Street Bridge for Illinois drivers. And Route 3 has been really jammed at Monsanto Avenue on the Illinois side this morning. Let's see. This report is brought to you by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Cash for Clunkers is back. Overhead Door Company of St. Louis is paying cash for your clunkers now. Schedule online at overheaddoorslouis.com or call 314-781-5200. It's cash for clunkers now at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
The beast of summer continues on this Thursday. A fast warm up again, partly to mostly sunny, hot and humid. 97 for the high. The record is 102 from 1954, so that is safe. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, 90s for evening plans, 77 for the low. Friday, partly sunny, hot and humid. A couple of spot afternoon storms, 94. A bit of an uptick in scattered thunderstorms over the weekend. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
We're at 8:07 right now, sunny and 80 degrees downtown at the Arch. You can listen to the Marc Cox Morning Show or any other show on 97.1 FM Talk anytime, anywhere by downloading the free Odyssey app.
The Marc Cox Morning Show is brought to you by Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group, retirementkey.com.
The Marc Cox Morning Show.
Listen to both sides. The bottom line is, I respect that. We don't agree.
You're listening to the Marc Cox Morning Show.
Just to find a voice. Who is this guy? He's saying what we've been saying forever.
I don't know how to put this.
Marc Cox.
I'm kind of a big deal.
Well, it adds excitement, doesn't it, folks? All right, a busy Thursday morning here on the Marc Cox Morning Show. Just finished carrying most of a live news conference there with Pete Hegseth and General Kane at the Pentagon talking about the after effects of the bombing in Iran and the media trying desperately to protect Iran and claim that not enough damage was done by 30,000 pound massive ordnance penetrators. Yeah. You can go sell that somewhere else. So Pete Hegseth wasn't having any of it, and we're going to continue talking about that this hour. Kim St. Ange and Ethan Bryden here with me. We'll get to Sue Thomas in a minute, but we're going to get Shannon Bream on. Couldn't have a better person coming up to discuss this from the as a news anchor and watching this from the Fox News desk. I'm sure this morning they're in Washington, and of course Griff Jenkins will be along a little bit later in the hour as well. Kim, your thoughts after watching that news conference?
Yeah, I think that Hegseth and General Kane were just very adamant that this attack did exactly what it was intended to do. And they emphasized the fact that, look, what's come out so far with this preliminary report is just that. It's preliminary. And over the next number of days, they'll be having to work to determine, I guess, the severity of the attack, because like you said earlier, Mark, it's not as simple as, hey, you know what, let's just send someone to actually walk over to the site and go ahead and check it out.
Yeah, we're gonna drop some paratroopers in and check that out, and we'll get back with you tomorrow.
Be fine.
That's not quite how that works, is it? No, we know that. All right, it's also a big day for the Supreme Court. In less than an hour, so at 9 a.m. Our time, 10 a.m. Central, or 10 a.m. Eastern, I should say, 9 a.m. our time, the Supreme Court will drop its next round of decisions. And they've got to drop a bunch of them because they've got today and tomorrow. And then this session is over with for the United States Supreme Court, I believe. Shannon Bream can talk about that a little bit when we get her in here in the next segment. So stay tuned for that. Right now, I want to get to our top stories, though.
The Marc Cox short list.
We think we hit them so hard and so fast they didn't get to move. And if you knew about that material, it's very hard and very dangerous to move.
Yeah, that was the president yesterday saying that all these reports that, Iran was able to load all of its yellow cake processed uranium onto a truck and drive it out of there. Who was driving it? Because that guy's probably glowing bright green this morning.
The DIA themselves have now come out and said this was a preliminary report and this CNN story got it completely wrong. But that reporter is a sheep and she's a mouthpiece for people who don't like Donald Trump.
One of the ones that led the reporting on the fake Steele dossier before she worked for CNN. Then CNN hired her because they were apparently so proud of her crappy work.
Asking questions is literally our job. Demanding facts and answers instead of just taking a president's word for it.
That's Jake Tapper. That's Jake Tapper defending that the media is there to ask questions instead of just taking the president's word for it. After ignoring the mental decline of Joe Biden that was obvious to anyone for 4 straight years, now he wants you to believe the media is there to ask serious questions.
We all remember Jordan, right? If you were a Chicago Bulls fan, you knew that he was the GOAT and he was the great. Every time he went out, he punished everyone. President Trump is the new Michael Jordan of government.
Oh, man. I got to get me some GOAT shoes, don't you think? Instead of Jordans, I'm going to get some Trumps.
I'm surprised Trump doesn't wear something that says GOAT.
Like bright gold tennis shoes or something?
Wasn't he selling? He had watches. What has Trump not sold? Bibles, watches. He needs to get something that says "GOAT" on it and sell that.
To his credit, I think it's the family enterprise that's selling that and not directly him. But still, it's got the Trump
name on it.
Organization's name on it. You need to get you a gold phone and some gold shoes.
Maybe like a gold tooth, and each tooth has GOAT on it.
I just want to get a T-shirt with one of these massive ordnance penetrators on it. That's what I want to walk around with, a T-shirt that says "mop" on the front of it.
I'd like to see the reaction from some of the liberals as you walk around. Yeah. But Mark, you of all people, you are not afraid at all to wear a T-shirt that people would look at as that's controversial, that's offensive.
You are correct.
You do not care, which I respect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you for that. So here's the bite of the day from the news conference. In case you missed the whole thing earlier, this is the bite of the day. So the reporter she's going to ask a gotcha question to Pete Hegseth, because remember he said the boys in the planes are on their way back. They did a great job. Well, they found out there was a female pilot, and that was not good enough for the media. So they decided they're going to go after Hegseth for being a sexist, for daring to say that. And Pete did not play very well with this young lady today. Here you go.
Acknowledge the female pilots that also participated in this mission. The early messages that you sent out only congratulated the boys.
So when I say something like our boys and bombers, see, this is the kind of thing the press does, right? Of course, the chairman mentioned a female bomber pilot. That's fantastic. She's fantastic. She's a hero. I want more female bomber pilots. I hope the men and women of our country sign up to do such brave and audacious things. But when you spin it as, because I say our boys and bombers, as a common phrase. I'll keep saying things like that, whether they're men or women. Very proud of that female pilot, just like I'm very proud of those male pilots. And I don't care if it's a male or a female in that cockpit, and the American people don't care. But it's the obsession with race and gender in this department that's changed priorities. And we don't do that anymore. We don't play your little games.
And the point is, I don't care if it's a male or a female pilot, but it's not going to be a male who thinks he's a female or a female that thinks he's a male. So there will be clear gender distinctions, but Pete Hegseth doesn't care which one of those chromosome carrying people are flying the airplane.
You know, it's so funny because a number of our listeners who are tuning in on Facebook, by the way, thank you for doing that. They're commenting, they want the female pilot recognized, but men and women's sports, that's just different. So they get to pick and choose when it matters and what a woman is. You know what I mean? That's what's really funny about it too.
Well, and they're going to keep doing that. But I do have to say that if you've watched Hegseth today, you start to understand, like the first time, remember back to the first time you watched JD Vance after Donald Trump named him as his vice president. And at first you might, like me, have wondered why he picked Vance over somebody else. And then it dawned on you, because once you heard Vance slice and dice a couple of network reporters over their nonsense, you started to realize what Donald Trump saw in him. He saw leadership and an intelligence and an ability to think on his feet and to answer questions. What you saw at the Pentagon today was the same thing. It's what he saw in Pete Hegseth, a longtime veteran of foreign wars who's now leading the Pentagon with common sense and no nonsense, not politically correct. And that's exactly why Donald Trump named him to that position, and the media has tried to take him out because of that little texting problem that they all tried to blow out of proportion. And then this thing went off seamlessly. So you understand now as you watch it. All right, quick break here because we have Shannon Bream from Fox News Sunday coming up. Stay tuned.
Catch anything you missed today by getting the show podcast at 971talk.com.
Should I stay or should I go now?
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, we do have some volume out there still. Nothing too terrible, but if you are northbound on 270, a slow pocket or two between Gravois and Ladue Road. Southbound a little slow at Ladue Road as well. Eastbound 70, moderate volume anywhere from 141 to just past 270, and then things open up. 6440 eastbound, most of the volume there is in pockets east of 270 through Big Bend, and then it looks better. Northbound 55, still a little slow in the work zone at Bayless. We still have a jam on the Illinois side, Route 3 in both directions near Monsanto. And we've got volume westbound on the Poplar Street Bridge, although it really is only moderate at this hour. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic. This report brought to you by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
In the 70s, baseball player Jerry Kelly decided to do something different.
Thanks for calling Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
This year, the company Jerry started decided we'd do something different.
Thanks for calling Jerry Kelly Heating, Air and Electrical.
And electrical.
JerryKelly.com.
If you have wondered if you've saved enough money to retire and you want to know how to make that money that you do have go a lot further, try this class. It is a 3-hour adult education class called Retirement Planning 101. It's just one night. It's taught by a fiduciary advisor from financial and tax architects, and they have decades of experience with this. And they hold these classes at colleges and libraries throughout St. Louis, but you learn a whole bunch of stuff you need to know. How to reduce taxes. How do you pay for health care and retirement? How do you maximize your Social Security? Because you save, and then, wait a minute, now what? Is this enough? Find out how it all works. They do this for free, but you need to bring 3 canned goods for St. Louis Crisis Nursery. Have to register, so call 314-947-2012. It's just a good idea to learn this stuff. 314-947-2012.
I'm Ultima Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Every time one of my children started driving, it was terrifying. Thousands of accidents happen across the country. We see it every day. If you've been injured in a car accident, call us.
Dial pound law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Have you been notified that your subsidy for Obamacare health insurance is going away? Well, you can leave now while you are still healthy and can qualify for much better individual plans. Greg Hammonds at greghammonds.com has been helping people get affordable health insurance with great coverage for over 35 years. Greg offers private health insurance plans that are not on the ACA marketplace. You can pick your doctors. For most claims, you won't even pay a deductible, and they're 30 to 60% lower cost than Obamacare. One more thing, there's no tax penalty at the end of the year. Greg even has plans that are guaranteed acceptance. If you pay for your own health insurance, you're uninsured, you're on COBRA, or your employer coverage is just too expensive, call Greg at 314-794-7784. That's 314-794-7784. Or go to greghammonds.com. That's greghammonds.com. He can custom design a plan by you, not the government.
What does Del Walmsley, CEO and founder of Lifestyles Unlimited, think you need to succeed in this market?
It's time to buy, and so you better get prepared, you better get educated, you better get your money right. You need to get involved because you're going to need the financing. You're going to need the vendors that we have available to us. You're just going to need the interaction with people. You need to immerse yourself into real estate.
Start your real estate immersion with a free workshop live online at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
The helm is in good hands. This is the Marc Cox Morning Show. The Marc Cox Morning Show, on the air and streaming at 971talk.com.
So that American people understand how difficult it is to shoot a drone from an F-15 or 16 or F-22 or F-35, or what it's like to man a Patriot battery, or how hard it is to refuel midair, giving the American people an understanding of how complex and sophisticated this mission really was.
Get up, baby! Get up! There's only one Shannon.
Shannon Bream, host of Fox News Sunday. Well, Shannon, welcome back. Of course, you know where I had to start this morning, right?
Exactly where a lot of folks started their morning, which was this briefing out of the Pentagon.
Well, I mean, anything surprising out of that to you? I mean, I think it was interesting to hear General Kane describe just how technically accurate these weapons were and that they knew what they were facing. And I felt like I was watching, Maverick Top Gun because they had to hit the ventilator shaft. And I mean, it was a pretty amazing description.
It was. And what Chairman Kane has been so good at, I think, is humanizing this as well, talking about the young women and men behind these operations and exactly what they were facing and how they stepped up and did incredible things. And I think you're right. From the minute we started talking about this on Saturday night, I was like, I've seen this movie. We all have a feeling, if you've seen Top Gun Maverick, that you know just how difficult this is. Obviously, that's a different situation, but the precision, the training, all the things that are happening for years that we don't know about that goes into. So when these missions come available, the opportunity, the window is there. Our men and women are ready to go.
How do you feel? I just want to ask you a personal question here. I'm sure you know Jennifer Griffin. She's worked for Fox for years. Hegseth made a pretty pointed attack on her today, saying that she was one of the worst. I don't know where that came from. How does it make you feel when you hear things like that?
You know, it's a little tricky because obviously we've all been colleagues. And so we do have a relationship of having worked together essentially on the same team.
Right.
I think they're both very independent voices. And I think that they're both going to go with the information that they believe is correct and right and true according to their sources. They have different sources, maybe some of the same sources. So it's just one of those things that, like, essentially we've been in the same family. And I think that there's affection there, but clearly there's some frustration there too.
Yeah, you pick up on that for sure.
Shannon, in about, what is it, like 40 minutes or so, we're expecting the Supreme Court to release more decisions. And I mean, we're in crunch time now. What are you keeping a close eye on today? specifically?
So I think the biggest one that we are awaiting is nationwide injunctions. Can a single federal judge anywhere, and we know there are about 700 of them across the country, shut down a law, an executive order, a policy for the entire country? It's the biggest case of the term. They added these May 15th arguments. They never argue a case in May. That's the really big one. But we've also got cases that deal with funding for Planned Parenthood through government funding of Medicaid. We've got this case that's in our area here in the DC area that could ripple far beyond it, which is, can parents opt their kids out of lessons with books that they find objectionable to their religious faith if they're in public school? So we've got 10 left. We'll see what we get today, and we'll see if they finish up on time tomorrow. I'm not sure.
Yeah. The big one, I guess, last week was the decision on trans surgeries in Tennessee, correct? Because that's going to have an impact here in Missouri.
The thing is, there are more than 24 states that have very similar laws that will now have, essentially the blessing of the Supreme Court if they pretty closely mirror what was done in Tennessee. And we were a little surprised to get that last week, because normally we think it's, one of the biggest ones. It's going to be last week, but they did surprise us a little bit with that 6-3 ruling. And some people would argue it was sort of a 6.5, 2.5, because Justice Kagan wasn't fully with the dissent, but she was, with a good chunk of the dissent. But essentially, what the Chief Justice said is, listen, this law passes the constitutional muster test. And because of that, we leave this to the states, the people, their elected representatives, to work out issues like this one.
Going back to what you mentioned about funding, I think it was for Planned Parenthood and maybe as it relates to Medicaid, that's in the Big Beautiful Bill, right? So how would that be different? Because I thought the Big Beautiful Bill basically would pull funding from Planned Parenthood.
Yeah. And, they've tried to do this so many times in so many different ways, the GOP has. So we'll see what survives this so-called parliamentarian review in the Senate, what survives in the bill, what gets back to the House. We're just not sure exactly what will end up in the final thing that gets to the president's desk. This case comes out of South Carolina, where the governor has issued an executive order twice saying that, Medicaid funding can't flow to Planned Parenthood because there's a chance that money's fungible, that it could flow to abortion, which is against federal policy and federal law in almost every case. There are some exceptions. So a lot of states are watching this to see, because if South Carolina wins the right to do this, to say, listen, Medicaid can go to all these other clinics and family planning and all these different things, but if there's an abortion there, then the governor has the right to block the funding. It'll be really interesting to see what the ripple effect is if the court makes that decision.
Yeah. And now there's less than a week till they've got to pass this, right? I mean, I know it's not a hard deadline, but the president wants them to stay in Washington until they get this done. Do you think that's realistic?
Senator Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, told me last week that he would keep them here.
Oh.
And so he's like, if the Senate is still running up against this holiday situation, I'm going to keep them here. So they are all very much on notice that could be their weekend. The House seems to think they'd have a little bit of time, but the Speaker says, I'll bring them back next week on a holiday week. If the Senate gets its work done, we'll be here to pick up wherever they drop this bill in our lap.
So is your big guest this week going to be Zohran Mamdani?
You know what? Don't laugh. We asked for him.
Well, I'm sure.
I would like that interview.
Out to him and I said, listen, is this the future of the Democrat Party? The establishment here in D.C. seems a little rattled that they don't really want this to be kind of their spokesperson for the future. But we asked because I got a lot of questions for him. So they haven't said no. They haven't said yes, but we'll see.
Well, Curtis Sliwa has run for that office several times. And I mean, if he ever had a chance, this might be the year.
Yeah, and apparently his team has got some polling that they believe there's a lane for him if these other folks are in and kind of dice and slice the other votes that are available. Yeah. So stranger things have happened.
That's for sure. Do you have anybody else confirmed you want to talk about for Sunday?
We do. We actually have two senators from across the aisle who've agreed to come on together, Senators Coons and Curtis. They want to talk about the places that they do have some bipartisanship, but of course we'll push them on Big Beautiful Bill and war powers and all these other things where they may not agree. But we're always thankful when folks agree to come on and have a bipartisan conversation together.
Yeah. Shannon, don't have too hard of a day with the Supreme Court stuff. I know you'll have your hands full in a few minutes.
I've frozen a couple of bottles of water to take out there with me. Not my first rodeo. So 95 degrees, we are prepared for you.
We will be watching, Shannon. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. Take care. Shannon Bream, she'll be live in front of the United States Supreme Court in that heat in the next 30 minutes. waiting for those decisions to come down. So stay tuned, because the Brian Kilmeade Show, of course, follows us, and he'll have the very latest on that. Maybe another report from Shannon. We'll be back with Griff Jenkins after this.
Hey, is your Generac home standby generator ready for the next outage? Are you overdue for annual maintenance? Schedule an inspection today with Generator Supercenter and ensure your Generac generator is ready when you need it most. Generator Supercenter of St. Louis.com. Gain peace of mind that your flooring and carpet installation will be done right the first time when you hire the experts at Michael's Flooring Outlet. They give all their clients attentive personal service, even bring toys for the kids of the household. It's a family-owned and operated business for 25-plus years. They make sure you make the right choice for your home. So if you have carpets or hard floors, you're going to be happy for years to come. 3 convenient locations in St. Charles County, 116 Main Street, in Old Town St. Peters at Mid-Rivers and Highway 70, in West County on Olive, and the store in Darden Prairie. Michael's Flooring Outlet, IGotFloor.com. Hey, Zero Res wants to help you clean your home or business. Big summer savings with 3 rooms cleaned starting at $129 and $75 off your air duct cleaning. Visit ZeroResSCL.com and ask for the Mark Reardon or 97.1 FM Talk special.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group. Are you worried about market volatility? Are you concerned your money won't last you through retirement?
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw, and as a family-owned business, we are committed to protecting your retirement, whether you're nearing retirement or already retired. We have a lot of folks that aren't aware of all the new investment choices that are available, which give you growth and protection from losses at the same time. Are you aware of all the fees that you are currently paying? We can show you how to avoid those fees. So come in now for your free retirement review and get a second opinion on your retirement plan. And just for coming in, you'll get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. Let us show you how to retire with confidence.
We are proud to say we haven't lost a penny of our clients' money in 39 years, and we won't lose a penny of yours either. Let our family help your family. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
I'm Nicole Murray with Your Money Now. 2 Dutch consumer groups said they are seeking affected customers for a legal claim against Booking.com. The Consumer Competition Claims Foundation that said in a statement that Booking.com had allegedly been charging consumers too much for hotel rooms for years, leading to hundreds of millions of euros in damage. The Wall Street Journal reports Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg has hired 3 OpenAI researchers to join his superintelligence team, days after OpenAI CEO Sam Altman accused the Facebook owner of trying to poach its employees. An OpenAI spokesperson confirmed the departure of the 3 employees from the company without giving further details. The U.S. Federal Trade Commission said that candy giant Mars' proposed $36 billion takeover of Pringles maker Kellanova did not meet the standard for an anti-competitive merger. The regulator added that it is ending the review of the deal. Futures are slightly higher. Wednesday, the Dow Industrials lost 106, the NASDAQ up 61. That's Your Money Now.
Are you living with dry AMD? If so, you could be on the road to geographic atrophy, or GA, a condition that leads to retinal cell death and permanent vision loss. But with Izervay, you can
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay slows GA progression by targeting a key source of retinal cell death, which may help preserve your vision longer. Izervay, or Avastin Capted Pagel, is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Good morning. We are thinning out nicely on the roads. If you are headed in from Illinois, just a little moderate volume every now and then on the Poplar Street Bridge. Eastbound 64, just moderate volume in pockets east of 270 through Big Bend. Northbound 270, again, just moderate volume, and it's pockets between Gravois and Ladue Road. 70 eastbound is still a slow go around 141. And other than that, we look pretty good. So not bad out there right now. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Sponsored by Gloria Lou with your home sold guaranteed realty 314-325-6888.
Need to sell your home and you want the most money? The name to remember is Gloria Lou. Yes, Gloria Lou with your home sold guaranteed realty at 314-325-6888 and start packing.
Overhead Door Company has its Cash for Clunkers deal going again, and I've been telling you about this. Remember the one they did with your cars? Like the idea was just to get those old clunkers off the road, and in return for that, they're going to give you some cash to use toward something new. And at the Overhead Door Company, same idea: $200 for your main garage door, $100 for a third garage door. So you could get $300 toward brand new garage doors, insulated, beautiful, either a modern or maybe you want more of a barn door look, whatever it happens to be. Go to the website for the Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. That is overheaddoorstlouis.com. You will get inspired when you look at that drop-down menu there of their different collections. They're gorgeous. And you'll want to check those out and see what it can do for your house. In the meantime, take advantage of Cash for Clunkers while it lasts. Get to them and let them take your old doors down and give you hundreds of dollars toward new ones. I think that's great. If you're having door problems, they also fix them. And they will never leave you stuck. They will do same-day emergency service. Call 314-781-5200. That is 314-781-5200 or online at overheaddoorstlouis.com.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody. Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today. See representative for warranty details. Promotion is 20% off plus a 10% senior or military discount. One discount per household.
He's right. Marc Cox. The Marc Cox Morning Show, on the air and streaming at 971talk.com.
Acknowledge the female pilots who also participated in this mission. The early messages that you sent out only congratulated the boys.
So when I say something like our boys and bombers, see, this is the kind of thing the press does, right? Of course, the chairman mentioned a female bomber pilot. That's fantastic. She's fantastic. She's a hero. I want more female bomber pilots.
In Kyiv, Ukraine, Griff Jenkins, Fox News. Along the southern border, Griff Jenkins, Fox News. At the White House, Griff Jenkins, Fox News. In St. Louis, Griff Jenkins, Fox News.
Tell me where in the world is
Griff Jenkins. Nothing like a good breaking news day, huh, Griff?
Man, Mark and Kim, good morning. Listen, there's so much breaking news. I don't even know where I am. It's like Griff Jenkins reporting from, where am I, guys? Where am I?
What day is it?
What day is it? It's unbelievable. But, you played that clip from that Pentagon press conference, and obviously there was a moment that's making the media headlines where Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, attacked Jen Griffin, our Pentagon correspondent.
Yes.
And that's getting a headline. But I think the thing that was really unique is someone that covers this a lot, and has been covering, obviously we're old enough to remember, the Iran history and threat going back 4.5 decades. But I thought the moment that Dan Raisin Kane went into detail talking about the CIA guy that's been sitting on the Fordo target for 15 years and walking us through it was one of the most remarkable things I've ever heard. It's not getting the headline, I think, but man, my jaw dropped because we typically don't get that amount of detail. And as a guy that, has spent his entire career with a former Marine that dealt with a lot of national security named Valley North, when he dropped and began to talk about the DTRA, the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, they don't talk about that group very often because they're secret. And he really gave, setting aside some of the pushback and condemnation that Hegseth gave the media, really Kane's remarks are I think you're going to hear more and more former military people, talking heads out there that were in the military are going to highlight that and say, holy smokes, I can't believe we got that.
Yeah, well, you heard him say to that one reporter said, when can we see more of this? And Hegseth said, do you have a top secret security clearance, sir?
Yeah.
And then just shut him down because you're not going to see some of it. Some of it you can't. Some of it you can't prove. And here's what we said earlier. I hate to keep going back to it, but what they described almost sounded like that scene out of Top Gun Maverick, where they're trying to get the missiles right down the ventilation shaft. So the first run blows the cover off of it, and the second run the missiles shoot straight down into the Death Star and blow up the underground nuclear facility. That's sort of what it sounded like.
Absolutely. And, I was anchoring Fox and Friends this weekend with my colleague, Joey Jones, and he brought that up a couple of times. People on Twitter were like, you're trivializing it like Top Gun. No, it's totally like that run. If people remember that scene. And what's remarkable is, as much as I love Tom Cruise, because I think he's the last living great action hero on the big screen, that was a movie. And this was real life. And they'd never done this. And to have obviously they've been practicing this. Obviously this wasn't something they came up with last minute, but to pull it off to the degree of flawlessness that they did is really going to be a major historical footnote of military greatness and why we are unparalleled in terms of the greatest military on the planet. I also thought, by the way, if I could just add, the other part that was amazing was these young 44 soldiers that defended with a Patriot battery the missiles that Iran sent to Al Udeid Air Base in Doha, Qatar, and not a single one got through. These are 20-something-year-olds literally standing between Iranian missiles and what could have been a disastrous attack on our base.
And you probably saw the video of from that base of the soldiers cheering as those things were blowing up in the air. It looked like a fireworks display, and I couldn't run into the audio because they were dropping so many F-bombs in the background. So
yeah, exactly. But remarkable stuff. And really, I'll say this about the criticism of, in full disclosure, my former colleague and friend Pete Hegseth, and that is, whatever he does in his tenure, the fact that all of the recruitment numbers are soaring off the charts is going to be one of his greatest accomplishments. Because at the end of the day, we hire young men and women to go into combat, fearlessly defend the nation, and pull triggers.
Yep.
And that run was among the best of the best in terms of execution.
Yeah, I saw one of our listeners the other day saying, I heard there'd be a draft, and I'm thinking, no way would there be a need for a draft when you have such high enrollment. People are choosing to be in the military at a rate that we haven't seen in many, many years. Griff, I wanted to ask you about something that you're covering today, and that's all these Iranian nationals who have been arrested here in the United States, and it's across the country. There was actually a map that Fox put up yesterday, and I saw both Missouri and Illinois as states where some of these Iranians have been arrested. Do we have any details on that?
Well, they're all across the country. We were reporting on, a dozen or so that had been rounded up, and then boom, it escalated quickly. We got information yesterday that ICE has arrested 130 Iranian nationals across the U.S. in the last 7 days, and that ICE currently has 670 Iranians in ICE detention. It comes after the heels of we knew that there was roughly more than 1,500 Iranians came into the country under the Biden administration, of which 700 and something were released. And so obviously they are making a lot of headway towards rounding them up because, look, the potential for an Iranian sleeper cell in the U.S. has gone to a highly serious level with the, DHS putting out that National Terrorism Advisory System saying we're in a heightened threat environment right now. And so, listen, my hat's off to them. I will say this, though. I can't talk about this and not mention that the former Border Patrol chief, Jason Owens, that I spent a lot of time with during the Biden border crisis, I asked him time and time again, what keeps you up at night? And the answer was always the same. It was that among the gotaways would be a terrorist that would carry out an attack because they've only got to be right once.
These Iranians, they're not people who have committed crimes before, right? It's just the fact that they're from Iran. That's enough at this point, right? I mean, they're here illegally.
Well, well, in some cases, we reported on an Iranian national in Mississippi that is a KST, a known or suspected terrorist. He's listed as that. We know another individual was an Iranian army sniper, and even a third one had admitted ties to Hezbollah. So listen, out of the 670 they've got in custody, if 3 were terrorists, that certainly should give you pause.
Yeah, true. And I think that's a key fact is that the previous administration let some of these people loose into the interior of this country. It's frightening stuff. I tell you what, Griff, we appreciate your time, my friend. Have a great day up there in D.C.
Thanks, guys. And by the way, keep your eye on the Supreme Court. We may get some interesting decisions today. That's going to be a big story.
That is exactly the truth. We appreciate you. Thank you. And I know Shannon Bream is going to be out there reporting live from SCOTUS coming up here at the top of the hour. The Brian Kilmeade Show will have the very latest on that for you. Well, she did it again. Operation Let Her Speak, Kim. Jasmine Crockett, in a House hearing, has decided to attack First Lady Melania Trump.
I can't wait to hear this.
Yeah, I'm going to play the sound for you when we come back. Stay tuned.
The Marc Cox Morning Show
on 97.1 FM Talk. Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Still some moderate volume out there on northbound 270, anywhere from Big Bend up through Ladue Road. Southbound a little slow at Ladue Road as well. Southbound 170, some moderate volume headed for 64. Now eastbound 6440, there was some volume at Timberlake Manor. This is really not a big deal. And then east of Lindbergh through Big Bend. If you are headed in from Illinois, there's just some moderate volume for the length of the Poplar Street Bridge. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Hey, what's going on with the housing market right now? It's a good question. What you need to do is not just watch headlines and speculate on whether or not your house is worth this or that. You need to call the expert. My friend Gloria Liu can answer that question for you. Here's her phone number, 314-325-6888. Call her up. Say, heard Marc Cox bragging about you. I know you handled the sale of his home, and I have questions. What's my house worth? What's this guarantee that you give people that you'll sell their home for 100% of market value or that you'll pay the difference? Gloria can answer all of those questions. She'll tell you how that works, why it works consistently. Gloria's the only realtor I know in town who is making that guarantee for you. It's why her company's called Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. So again, you can go to her website, gloriahasthebuyers.com, or you can just call her and she can explain that to you. She also has a guaranteed multiple cash offer program where local buyers will offer cash, including market value, for your home, and you skip all of the walkthroughs and all that stuff, right? Because they're paying cash for it. This is another option with Gloria Liu. 314-325-6888 or gloriahasthebuyers.com.
The Cards, the Cubs. Siteman Cancer Center game time 1:15. Play ball. Siteman Cancer Center, national leader in cancer. The home of the Cardinals. 104.1 FM KMOX.
And if you're struggling with low energy, performance issues, or weight gain, Game Day Men's Health has got you covered with testosterone therapy, ED treatments, and more in all of a relaxed man cave environment. At Game Day, you'll get a free testosterone test and consultation, all in just 1 hour. Game Day is the premier men's health clinic with locations in Chesterfield, O'Fallon, Missouri, and Glen Carbon, Illinois. Visit GameDayMen'sHealth.com. That's GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Get back in the game with Game Day Men's Health.
Sponsored by Progressive. Progressive is here for all of life's needs with protection for your home, auto, business, and more. From timely repairs to customizable coverages and payment options, we make it easy. See if you can save at Progressive.com.
For details and a list of all station contest rules, visit www.971talk.com/rules. The Annie Fry Show.
The parents who count to 3, but before they get to 3, they're like 2 1/4, 2 1/2. You can't be that person when there is a nuclear bomb in the middle of the situation.
Weekdays from noon to 3. He's got the ammo. Marc Cox. Catch anything you missed today by getting the show podcast at 971talk.com.
All right, great to get Griff on here talking about all this, and he's bringing up these issues that are important right now, right? Part of what they're talking about is ICE and how they vet people at the border. That's how the known suspected terrorists got in here, and they're tracking them down, and I feel confident that they're going to do the best job they can. But let's face it, there are millions of people in this country who were allowed in by the previous administration, and we don't know who they are. And that's really the issue here. The issue with illegal immigration is not a broken, and we don't have a broken immigration system. We don't. Our immigration system works when you follow the rules. If you want to come in, you go apply in your country. You get on a waiting list. It may take you. I have a friend who came here from Russia. They applied, and 7 years later, out of the blue, they were contacted and said they had been approved.
Wow.
And they dropped everything and moved to the United States. They lived in Russia, and that was years ago. But there's a proper way to do it, and there's an illegal way to do it. We don't have a broken system. We have people who've broken the rules, and we have one political party that doesn't care because they see political benefit out of it, right? Through the getting people in here illegally, counting them in the census, and getting extra seats in Congress, which gives you extra electoral votes and tries to help you win more presidential elections. That's what Joe Biden was all about, and he might not even have been fully aware of it. But the people controlling him and the auto pen were most certainly aware of it, right? So the point of that diatribe that I just gave you is that it's not, the problem is the people coming here illegally. It's not visa overstays, although that's a small part of the problem. We've had a few problems with people that came here and stayed beyond their visa. It's our fault for not setting an alarm and remembering when their visa expired and reminding them they had to leave the country. That's on us. Now Jasmine Crockett in a hearing attacks Melania Trump because she came here on a visa, and she didn't come here illegally. She's mad at the kind of visa she got when she was brought into this country. Listen to the brain surgeon Jasmine Crockett criticize Melania Trump's intelligence. Listen.
And since we're talking about integrity, I'm confused as to why my Republican colleagues aren't talking about the lack of integrity when it comes to the president's family's visas. Let me remind y'all that Melania, the first lady, a model, and when I say model, I'm not talking about Tyra Banks, Cindy Crawford, or Naomi Campbell level, applied for and was given an EB-1 visa. And what that stands for is an Einstein visa. Now, y'all that don't know, let me tell you how you receive an Einstein visa. You're supposed to have some sort of significant achievement, like being awarded a Nobel Peace Prize or a Pulitzer, being an Olympic medalist, or having other sustained extraordinary abilities and success in sciences, arts, education, business, or athletics. Last time I checked, the First Lady had none of those accolades under her belt. It doesn't take an Einstein to see that the math ain't mathin' here.
I wonder, other than Hood, what other language does Jasmine Crockett speak? Because Melania Trump speaks 5 languages very well, very fluent in 5 languages. She's brilliant, number one. Number two, that's not all an EB-1 visa does. She way oversimplified what an EB-1 visa is. Big companies use them all the time to bring workers here. She completely misrepresented what an EB-1. You don't have to be a Nobel Prize winner to get an EB-1 visa.
I would think, leading up to Trump's first term, that Melania Trump, her legal status would have been highly scrutinized and nitpicked with a fine-tooth comb. And clearly everything was fine.
Yes. Well, I'm sure it was fine. But again, to ignore the problems. Remember, Jasmine Crockett's mad because they're arresting people in their places of work and other places. You go where they are, right? You if you're going to go fishing, you don't fish in the middle of a field. You go to a pond. You go where they are. If you're looking for an illegal alien and you know where they work, that's where you go to get them. The left doesn't want you to get them in any way, shape, or form. They'd rather complain about the ones like Melania Trump, who are legal citizens in this country now, but who legally immigrated here. That complete distraction by the left. And it gets back to the fact that we need to let them speak. These folks are about to try to elect a committed socialist who wants to redistribute wealth in the financial capital of the United States in New York City. If that happens, that country, that city is going to go to hell in a handbasket. It's going to be like a third world country. People are going to be fleeing to get the hell out of there. Maybe they'll move Wall Street to Florida. What do you think?
Wouldn't that be something?
Wouldn't that be something? That would be fantastic. All right, so we've covered a lot this morning. There was that news conference earlier. Be sure you can go back and listen to our coverage of that. We started carrying it live at 7:00, and also we have the Supreme Court decisions coming up. There are some big ones regarding these injunctions that have been laid down against the president by every district judge in America who thinks they're smarter than the president of the United States. They're about to release this Garcia guy. There's a Biden appointee is about to release this guy, even though he's accused of human trafficking. They're going to release him on his own recognizance. And you want to know one of the requirements when he's released? He can have no contact with any of his MS-13 gang associates. So they're admitting in the court documents that he's an MS-13 gang member, and they're still going to release him back into the community. That's never going to happen. ICE is going to pick him up the minute he steps out of that courtroom and ship him back out of the country.
Well, I thought they were keeping him detained because they knew once he was released, he would be deported, which bothers me, because you know what that means? That we, the taxpayers, are basically paying for that prison sentence. Or not sentence, but prison stay.
Very true. Keep it tuned right here to 971talk.com, because we are going to carry the Brian Kilmeade show as soon as we're off the air here, and you'll have the very latest as these Supreme Court cases break. And of course, we'll talk about all of them tomorrow morning. We're going to have Congressman Eric Burleson on tomorrow on the Capitol Beat about 7:35. So be sure and tune in for that for sure. Have a great day. Kim and Ethan and Sue and I will see you back here Friday morning at 5 a.m.